You practice immortality. I cultivate the land. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 626, Ghost Eating Vine. As time went by, Yuan's engine came to the little man in the pagoda one after another and told him their guesses or cognitions about a certain treasure. Finally, Yuan's engine stayed in front of the uneven animal skin with a hint of obvious joy on his face. It seems that he should have guessed the strange animal skin to be almost right, but it is possible that some details did not satisfy the little man of the spirit of the instrument, so as a preparation, we will see how it develops later. There are also 3 Yuan's engines, who were also blasted away by the little man with a punch, and then returned to the crowd with a calm expression. As expected of a Yuan's engine, look at his mental concentration, which is much stronger than that of a giant Zenron. Xuan secretly complained in his heart. There were also many cultivators around who were talking. Even Yuan's engine can't recognize the origin of this treasure. What else can we identify? I can't recognize it, and Yuan's engine can't recognize it either. Doesn't it mean that I'm at the same level as Yuan's engine? Seeing that Yuan's engine couldn't recognize it either, many cultivators present felt much more balanced. Seeing that fewer and fewer cultivators were interested in identifying the treasure, Xuan followed several cultivators who were hiding their auras and appearances, and came to the pagoda figure. He pretended to take a close look at the 2 treasures, the strange animal skin and the ore, and finally stopped at the spirit seed that the evil spirit was hovering around. Senior, I have some vague impressions of this spirit seed. It seems that I have seen it somewhere, but I can't remember it for a while. I wonder if you can allow me to plant it in the spirit soil for a while and cultivate it with basic spirit planting techniques. Maybe I can remember it by this. I have some talent in spirit planting. Maybe I can sense something from it. I promise to treat the spirit seed treasure carefully and will never let it be damaged in the slightest. Xuan made up a reason and promised the pagoda figure solemnly. Okay, but since you're asking for so much, I'll hit you further away. Xuan was inside the treasure house, so the spirit didn't worry that he would do anything. It shook its fist and said viciously. Xuan tried to move his eyes away from the precious light emitted from its mouth and took out a handful of spiritual soil from the storage bag. Allow me to plant it in the spiritual soil, isn't it safe? Or thought flashed through his sea of consciousness, and he carefully placed the evil ghost spirit seed into the spiritual soil. A very weak spiritual rain seeped into the spirit seed. What are you doing? Planting the spirit seed on the spot? His action was seen by everyone, and they all showed puzzled expressions. You can't tell after you get started, so you can tell after planting it? This is too unbelievable, right? From time to time, someone sneered softly. Xuan's mind had already been completely focused on the spirit seed wrapped in the spiritual soil, and then, detailed information about the spirit seed appeared in his mind. The ghost-eating evil vine, a 6th grade spiritual plant, is a special spiritual plant produced in the Yinluo Ghost Cave in the cave. The Yinluo Ghost Cave is located in the cracks of the void. Few cultivators enter it. In addition, the spiritual plant itself is special, so few cultivators have heard of it. The Ghost Cave is full of evil ghosts and evil things. A few cultivators living in the Ghost Cave have studied and explored for generations and obtained this special spiritual plant. The ghost-eating evil vine feeds on ghosts. After swallowing various evil ghosts, it can absorb the special evil ghosts and grow into a spiritual plant with special evil ghost forms and abilities. It can eat all kinds of ghosts. It eats 300 evil ghosts a day and is willing to be a Yinluo vine forever. A 6th grade spiritual plant that likes to eat evil ghosts and then becomes an evil ghost itself. No wonder it is called the ghost-eating evil vine. Xuan said secretly in his heart, feeling that there are all kinds of spiritual plants in the world. Excuse me, senior. Does this spirit seed come from a special cave where ghosts are rampant? He took out the evil ghost spirit seed and returned it intact to the pagoda figurine. Yes, you know that cave. The pagoda figurine retracted its fist after accumulating power for a long time and looked at Xuan in surprise. This was the first time that a cultivator roughly guessed the origin of the evil ghost spirit seed. To be honest, senior, I come from the Donghuang Xianjian sect. You should know that the sect is a branch of the Kangalan realm Dongsuan sword sect. It was only because of the invasion of demons that we had to come to the central continent. I have read about the origin of this strange spirit seed in a certain book in the sect's scripture pavilion. Lu Xuan continued to bring out the special book in the rumor, but this time, in order to make himself more convincing in front of the magic weapon spirit, he supplemented the previous information of the book more completely. If I'm not mistaken, this spirit seed is called the ghost-eating evil vine. It feeds on evil spirits and yun things, and has certain evil spirit abilities. Is this correct? Lu Xuan asked the little man in the pagoda respectfully. Great. The little man's eyelids, like the eaves of a house, lifted up, revealing 2 square pupils underneath. It can be seen that he was extremely shocked that Lu Xuan could identify the spirit seed. This treasure belongs to you. There was a bit of nostalgia in its eyes, and it was about to send the evil ghost spirit seed to Lu Xuan. Wait a moment, senior. I'm very lucky to recognize this spirit seed. I'm naturally very happy to get such a rare and high level treasure from you. However, I haven't broken through to the Jindan stage yet. If someone sees that the spirit seed belongs to me, I'm afraid that it will attract many Jindan and even Yuanying to spy on me. I beg you to keep my breath, appearance, and identity secret to avoid unnecessary trouble. It's a small matter. The little man in the pagoda waved his short fist. No one dares to be presumptuous in my territory, and I will not let you cause trouble because of this spirit seed. It promised Lu Xuan in a childish voice. Lu Xuan was relieved and took the spirit seed respectfully. Thanks to the legendary book, I accidentally got a rare spirit seed from a foreign cave. He thought secretly in his heart. The ownership of 2 of the 3 treasures is still undetermined, and one fell into the hands of a mysterious monk in front of everyone's eyes. Did that person really recognize it? Everyone watched the spirit seed treasure disappear, and there was an uproar. This is a collection of high-level magic weapon spirits, and it comes from a foreign land. Its rarity can be imagined. I didn't expect it to fall into the hands of others inexplicably. For a while, countless eyes with envy and jealousy fell on Lu Xuan. If I had known that I could recognize the spirit seed by putting it in the spirit soil, I would have tried it long ago. How could it be the turn of this monk? Many people regretted it and only hated themselves for not thinking of that method. There were also many cultivators who had a trace of reason in their hearts, knowing that it was not as simple as putting it into the spiritual soil to recognize it. It must be that the cultivator had a vast knowledge of spiritual plants like the ocean, so he could identify the spiritual seeds. Lu Xuan noticed that there were many spiritual consciousnesses around him, either curiously or with a little malice spying on him, but they were blocked outside by the restrictions specially strengthened by the spirit of the instrument. Humph. Change for me. The pagoda man hummed, with an unhappy look on his face. Thousands of meteorites left after images, and moved according to a certain pattern. When they stopped again, Lu Xuan's figure had disappeared. It silently changed the shape, trajectory, and restrictions left on the meteorites. Unless the identity was revealed openly, the origin could be recognized, based on the cultivation and appearance. The other cultivators who deliberately hid their origins were further enhanced. This spirit of the instrument who looks like a pagoda is quite good. Not only did he give me the opportunity to get a rare 6th grade spiritual seed, but he also deliberately concealed his identity for me. Lu Xuan mixed in the crowd and felt a little grateful to the pagoda man. Chapter 627 I wanted to get along with you as an ordinary spiritual plant master. Under the deliberate cover-up by the little man in the pagoda, the disturbance caused by Lu Xuan's acquisition of the spirit seed of the ghost-eating evil vine slowly subsided. The remaining cultivators focused their firepower on the other 2 treasures. After half an hour, the ore that looked like the alternation of the 4 seasons was taken away by Yuanying's engine. The mysterious animal skin was finally preserved, and the cultivator who guessed and identified the most was rewarded with another treasure by the little man in the pagoda. Everyone looked at the Yuanying's engine who got the ore with envy in their eyes. The treasure that could be taken out by this high-level magic weapon spirit to test everyone was naturally not an ordinary treasure. More importantly, it didn't cost even a low-grade spirit stone to get the treasure. the happiness of getting it for free. Whether it was a Yuan Ying's engine or a young cultivator who practiced Qi, they all wanted to have it in their hearts. The auction ended here, and cultivators left this vast starry sky one after another, and returned to the branches of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce in various places. Lu Xuan followed behind everyone, and was about to enter the teleportation formation when suddenly a warm voice sounded in his ears. "Little brother, please stay." He looked in the direction of the voice, and saw the gentle middle-aged man who hosted the auction looking at him with a smile. "Senior, what do you want me to do?" Lu Xuan asked in confusion. "Congratulations, little brother, for getting the treasure of Senior Keeling." The gentle middle-aged man sent a voice message to Lu Xuan. "Thank you." Lu Xuan bowed and said, his expression did not change at all. "Don't worry, little brother, only a few people in the Heilao Chamber of Commerce know about this, and the cultivators who came to the auction will not know. We only know that the spirit seed was taken away by little brother, because we have a lot of connections with Senior Keeling, and know some of its abilities. The Chamber of Commerce can promise you that it will never leak this matter, so as not to bring disaster to you, little brother." The gentle middle-aged man explained with a smile. Lu Xuan nodded gently. It seemed reasonable to him that the people of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce knew that he had obtained the mysterious spirit seed, and he was not too worried about his situation. After all, in the eyes of the Chamber of Commerce monks, he was just a spiritual plant master who was good at spiritual plants, and was very lucky to recognize this spiritual seed. Maybe he also mastered some special skills such as pupil skills, but he never thought that he had the special ability to identify all the spiritual plants in the world. He stood there quietly, waiting for the gentle middle-aged man to speak. This man called him. It was definitely not just a simple congratulation. Sure enough, the gentle middle-aged man paused and said, "Senior Keeling praised your spiritual plant attainments. So several managers of the Chamber of Commerce discussed and decided to hire you as a guest of the Chamber of Commerce." "Me?" Lu Xuan pointed at himself, with a bit of surprise in his eyes. "As far as I know, the Heilao Chamber of Commerce is one of the most powerful forces in Liang territory, and it even has a great reputation in foreign lands. Why would it hire a casual cultivator who has not yet formed a golden core? The hiring criteria is naturally not your strength, little brother. In terms of strength, there are at least hundreds of cultivators who are stronger than you among the cultivators who just came to the auction. The Chamber of Commerce only has eyes for your attainments in spiritual plants, and may need your help with related spiritual plants. If I become a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, what do I need to do? What can I get?" Lu Xuan said neither humbly nor arrogantly, and did not refute the number of cultivators who were stronger than himself mentioned by the gentle middle-aged man. "The main thing is to identify the spiritual plants obtained from various realms and blessed places. It is best to know the varieties. If not, at least we should study the approximate effects of the spiritual plants. In addition, the Chamber of Commerce has left footprints everywhere in the cultivation world, even in all the realms of the heavens. The high-level spiritual plants needed are in large quantities. If you are good at cultivating spiritual plants, we will entrust you with some high-level spiritual plants and let you cultivate them on our behalf. As for what you can get, I will definitely not let you down." A conceited smile appeared on the corner of the gentle middle-aged man's mouth. "Once you become a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, you will be provided with a large amount of spiritual stones every year. If you help the Chamber of Commerce complete any tasks, you will also receive generous rewards. If you like to cultivate spiritual plants, you should need a good spiritual environment, right? As long as your contribution to the Chamber of Commerce is great enough, you can even choose one from the many secret realms and blessed places of the Chamber of Commerce and make it yours." Hearing this, Lu Xuan was a little moved. If I really become a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, do I need to stay at the Chamber of Commerce all the time? There is no hard requirement for this. It is mainly determined by the specific tasks. Just come to the Chamber of Commerce from time to time. But if there is a specific task, it is best to come in time. The middle-aged cultivator said in a deep voice. "This seems to be more comfortable than when I was in the Xianjian sect." Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. With a lot of spirit stones, the Heilao Chamber of Commerce may not be the strongest in Liang realm, but it is definitely the most profitable in Liang realm. Good benefits. The highest level of benefits even qualify to own a blessed land or secret realm. Rich resources. The Chamber of Commerce is backed by the entire Liang realm, and even the realm of the heavens. You can imagine how rare and rich the resources that can be obtained are. It's also free, with no restrictions on time and place to work. Where else can you find such a good job? Lu Xuan has already made a decision in his heart. Thanks to the attention of the seniors of the Chamber of Commerce, Lu is willing to serve as a guest of the Chamber of Commerce. Haha, welcome little Taoist friend Lu. The gentle middle-aged man was very happy to be able to invite Lu Xuan to join the Chamber of Commerce as a guest. As for the fact that Lu Xuan was only at the perfect foundation establishment stage, he didn't care about that. You know, for the Chamber of Commerce, giant and cultivators are easier to find than the top spiritual plant masters. Lu Xuan was praised by the spirit of a high-level magic weapon, which was naturally extraordinary. After the two reached a preliminary agreement, Lu Xuan stayed for a while to perfect the relevant details, and finally returned to the Heilao branch in the Zexing Tower. Fellow Daoist Lu, how did you get from this auction? As soon as Lu Xuan came out of the teleportation formation, his mind had not yet completely recovered, and the tall Taoist Mu walked towards him and asked with a smile. Not bad, I found a few pretty good spiritual seeds, which broadened my horizons. Lu Xuan said half truthfully, without telling Taoist Mu that he not only won rare spiritual seeds, but also a rare 6th grade spiritual seed from the Chamber of Commerce's high-level magic weapon. By the way, fellow Daoist Mu, I have been to this branch so many times, but I haven't had a good look around yet. I wonder if you would be willing to show me around. Whatever fellow Daoist Lu needs, I can take you there. The tall old man readily agreed, and was about to take Lu Xuan to the downstairs where there were a lot of treasures. Fellow Daoist Mu, can you take me upstairs to have a look? Lu Xuan asked with a smile. I'm sorry fellow Daoist Lu, upstairs is a private place of the Chamber of Commerce, and other cultivators are not allowed to enter. Taoist Mu stopped, and said to Lu Xuan, can't you get in like this? A smile appeared on the corner of Lu Xuan's mouth, and a blue token in his hand shook gently. It seemed that there were endless waves surging in the token, and a treasure building could be vaguely seen at the end of the waves. Is this the Heilao token? Lu Xuan nodded. I wanted to get along with Brother Mu as an ordinary spiritual plant master, but what I got in return was alienation. I won't pretend anymore. I'm a guest of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to show my cards. Brother Lu, you became a guest of the Chamber of Commerce just by attending an auction? The tall old man felt a little unbelievable. As a descendant of a high-level member of the Chamber of Commerce, he knew that being a guest was not something that ordinary cultivators could do. Many giant and cultivators tried their best but failed. How did Lu Xuan, a casual spiritual plant master, do it? Brother Mu, can you authenticate the authenticity of the Heilao token? Lu Xuan smiled. During the auction, my talent for spiritual plants was accidentally discovered by several seniors of the Chamber of Commerce, so they invited me to become a guest and be responsible for some of the Chamber of Commerce's spiritual plant affairs. He concealed the part that was valued by the magic weapon spirit and explained to Mudoran, who was checking the token. So that's how it is. The token is indeed real. The tall old man returned the token to Lu Xuan in shock, not yet fully recovered from the news. Then you and I can call each other brothers from now on. Senior Brother Mu. Lu Xuan knew what he meant and shouted. Haha, hello, Junior Brother Lu. Taoist Mu had always felt that he and Lu Xuan had a good relationship, and now that they had such a connection, they became even closer. He enthusiastically took Lu Xuan into the important area of the branch. Hello, Senior Brother Lu. Not long after, the charming female cultivator in charge of managing this branch came over after hearing the news and greeted Lu Xuan. Fellow Taoist Wen, please take care of me in the future, Lu Xuan said with a bow. After confirming his status as a guest official, he chose the Zexing Tower branch as his future contact point, and some matters that did not require going out would be handled here. In the future, he would naturally have more contact with the female cultivators and the old man in front of him, so he would get to know them after returning. After learning a little about the branch, Lu Xuan and Mu Dao Ren and several other branch monks had a drink to deepen their impressions of each other. Finally, with everyone reluctant to leave, they returned to the Thunderfire Star Cave. This time, participating in the auction of the Halao Chamber of Commerce can be regarded as a fruitful harvest. I got the 5th grade spiritual plant Shamu Tree Demon, Sitting Buddha Lotus and 2 6th grade spiritual seeds of the Ghost Eating Evil Vine, one of which was obtained for free, and the 5th grade giant spiritual elephant skeleton, which is enough for the skeleton demon temple to grow for a long time. I accidentally met that somewhat ignorant and cute little pagoda man, and became a guest of the Chamber of Commerce because of it. Lu Xuan returned to the house, and counted the gains of this auction. Getting the ghost-eating evil vine spiritual seed was already a big surprise, but I didn't expect that there would be a bigger one later. He was actually favored by the Chamber of Commerce's magic weapon spirit and the top management, and successfully served as a guest of the Halao Chamber of Commerce. This is a huge amount of invisible wealth. You know, Halao Chamber of Commerce is much stronger than Xianjian sect in terms of strength and wealth. Not to mention that there is also the spirit of the instrument who can travel through the heavens and the worlds, and the channels for obtaining spirit seeds have increased a lot. I have to go back to my old job and cultivate spirit plants instead. However, I can endure hardships, so let the high level spirit seeds come more intensely. Lu Xuan thought to himself. Chapter 628, Marrow Cleansing Jade Liquid. After counting the harvest from the auction, Lu Xuan immediately came to the spiritual field, took out the 3 high-level spiritual seeds he got, and planted them one by one. His mind was focused on them, and detailed information about the spiritual plants appeared in his mind. The evil tree demon, a 5th grade spiritual plant, is extremely aggressive, and will even actively attack the spiritual plant master. It needs special attention when cultivating it. The tree heart condensed after maturity is a rare 5th grade treasure that can greatly strengthen the cultivator's physical body, or cultivate certain special magical powers. The 6th grade sitting Buddha lotus needs to be nourished by Buddha treasures. It cannot be invaded and polluted by evil spiritual energy during its growth process. After maturity, it can be refined into a lotus platform. Sitting on it can greatly improve the cultivator's understanding and help him comprehend the profound skills or magical powers. However, it has a strong assimilation ability, and those with weak wills are prone to convert to Buddhism. Another 6th grade ghost-eating evil vine needs to absorb various forms of ghosts, and gradually absorb and accumulate the power of ghosts to strengthen the spiritual plant itself. After maturity, it is considered a ghost-killing holy object. Lu Xuan decided to cultivate and nourish the spirits with ordinary ghosts in the early stage, and when the spirit plants took root and sprouted and the demand was greater, he would get some higher level ghosts with stronger strength and more bizarre abilities. After planting 3 newly acquired high level spirit plants, Lu Xuan was happy. After using the spirit rain technique to nourish the spirit seeds a little, he went to various parts of the spirit field and carefully inspected all the spirit plants in the spirit field. Half a day later, he returned to the house feeling a little tired. Next, I will wait for the ice firefly grass to mature and temper my soul and state of mind to prepare for the formation of the elixir. If I can get 1 or 2 treasures that can help increase the probability of forming the elixir during this period, it would be the best. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. Most of his cultivation in his body came from the light ball. Because of the soul condensation post and the Shenyanjing, his spiritual consciousness was far stronger than that of ordinary foundation building perfect cultivators. Because his physical body rarely fought with others, it did not leave any hidden diseases. The only weakness was his soul and state of mind. He devoted himself to spiritual plants and rarely went out to explore secret realms and experience various tribulations of cultivation. Although his life was guaranteed, he lacked a lot of experience and understanding. Fortunately, he got the treasure of the Red Dust Monument not long ago, which can make up for this shortcoming. Lu Xuan thought in his heart, and his spiritual consciousness attached to the Red Dust Monument. He saw the rolling red dust breath surging, and the countless little people on the stone monument came to life in an instant. One of the little people lit up slightly, attracting Lu Xuan's soul to approach unconsciously. The scene in front of him flashed, and he went straight into it. I don't know how long it took. Lu Xuan suddenly opened his eyes, and there was a strong confusion and regret in his eyes. It took a long time to slowly calm down and come back to his senses. In the red dust monument, he turned into a small casual cultivator with ordinary qualifications. His parents were also casual cultivators. In order to give him better cultivation resources, his father took the initiative to explore various secret realms. Despite being careful, he still encountered an accident and was killed by an evil cultivator. His mother pulled him down, poured all her blood and sweat into him, and finally died in depression. Although he had always wanted to change his situation, everything was already destined. No matter how hard he tried, he could only improve his cultivation to the middle stage of key training. He lived in a small market town and thought he could live to the end of his life. Unexpectedly, the market town was invaded by an evil spirit. He was infected with a trace of evil spirit and turned into an unconscious monster on the spot. In the end, his death was extremely tragic. If I hadn't obtained this special existence of the light ball, perhaps my experience in Linyang Market would be similar to what I encountered in the red dust monument this time. Lu Xuan sighed softly, feeling lost. In the red dust monument, he was like playing a simulator, transforming into villains with different identities and qualifications, and experiencing different lives. He became an ordinary mortal without the qualifications for cultivation. He basically shrank in the village at the foot of the mountain, and never even set foot in the town. He worked from sunrise to sunset, married and had children, and spent decades in a dull life. There are also young geniuses from small families, with good talents, who enter a small sect with high spirits, hoping to rise to the top, and ask the truth, but they didn't expect that reality would give them a painful blow. After leaving the small sect where the highest level of cultivation was the foundation building cultivator, he found that his little talent for cultivation was nothing in front of the real genius. In a battle to encircle and suppress demons, he was killed by the aftermath of a 5th grade demon, and became cannon fodder. Or he became an old key practitioner whose time was coming to an end, and accidentally obtained a high level technique, but unfortunately he didn't have much life left. With the little life left, his cultivation level improved all the way. Finally, when he was about to reach the foundation building realm, he was almost promoted because of the hidden disease left in his body. After the failure, he was discouraged and slowly died in endless regret. The tempering of the world again and again made Lu Xuan's state of mind perfect, and his heart to seek the truth became more and more determined. He didn't want to experience that kind of life again. Now that he had the light ball and the special ability to control the state of spiritual plants, he naturally had to seize the opportunity and try to go further on the road of cultivation. The days passed slowly like this. Lu Xuan practiced day after day, cultivating spiritual plants, raising spiritual beasts, and tempering his soul and mind in the red dust monument. The 5th grade pure glass tea is ripe. Lu Xuan looked at a tea tree with dry branches circling in the spiritual field. The tea tree had 3 green and dripping tea leaves, and the fresh air lingered, making people feel refreshed and clear-headed. The tea tree was commissioned by King Xuan, who was in the middle stage of Jiandan, to cultivate it when he was in Xianjian sect. After the sect changed, King Xuan fell into the hands of demons. In addition, he had no relatives alive, so the tea tree belonged to Lu Xuan. He focused his mind on the tea leaf at the top, and found that the translucent progress bar below was completely full. A white jade plate appeared in his hand, and he picked the tea leaves with his spiritual consciousness, and placed them in the white jade plate. Pure glazed tea, a 5th grade spiritual plant, is cultivated with pure spiritual breath. The mature tea leaves can greatly improve the monk's understanding within a certain period of time, until they slowly disappear. At the same time, they will form a pure spiritual breath in the monks' bodies, which can purify evil breath, filthy things, etc. A treasure that can improve understanding is priceless for monks who are practicing some mysterious magical powers and techniques. If you get any magical power or technique you like in the future, you can use this pure glazed tea to speed up your practice. Lu Xuan sighed and carefully put away the pure spiritual tea leaves. His sight was attracted by the light ball that quietly emerged below. He reached out and gently touched the surface of the light ball. The light ball silently shattered into light spots all over the sky. Countless light spots condensed into a river of light in the air and sank into Lu Xuan's body. Then, a thought flashed through his mind. Harvest a piece of 5th grade pure glazed tea leaves and obtain the 6th grade treasure King Suyui. Chapter 629. Everything is ready. The thought flashed through his mind, and a drop of magical spiritual liquid appeared in front of Lu Xuan. The spiritual liquid was pure and flawless, and one could see that the inside reflected the surrounding scene that was condensed countless times. In Lu Xuan's spiritual sense, there was a faint and clear spiritual breath lingering around the spiritual liquid. The clear spiritual breath dissipated everywhere, forming a series of almost non-existent light blue ripples. Wherever it went, the spiritual energy instantly became much purer. He concentrated his mind on the spiritual liquid and instantly learned detailed information about it. King Suyui, a 6th grade treasure, is made from 10,000-year-old jade marrow. After taking it, the cultivator's spiritual power and spiritual consciousness can be perfect, and the success rate of breaking through the Dan is greatly increased. 6th grade treasure. Lu Xuan was happy in his heart. Even though he had experienced countless opening groups, he still enjoyed it. The various unknown and powerful treasures in it made him addicted to it. There are no fancy effects, just one point, which is to greatly increase the success rate of Dan. The effect is single, but for him at present, this drop of King Suyui is the most valuable treasure. He is now only a hair's breadth away from the giant Dan stage, but countless cultivators have fallen in front of this tiny gap. It seems to be right in front of him, but in fact it is out of reach, like a natural chasm. Lu Xuan is quite confident that he can break through the giant Dan stage. Most of the spiritual power in his body comes from the light ball, which is not mixed with any dirty breath, and is of extremely high quality. There are no hidden diseases left in his body. Among the cultivators of the same level, he is not inferior to those who mainly practice physical training. As for spiritual consciousness, he has the Yunshan Tai to nourish it all the time, and with the years of practice in the Shenyanjing, he is far superior to other foundation building cultivators. As for the soul and mind, they have been tempered in the red dust monument, so the last shortcoming is also made up. However, no matter how confident he is, as long as it is less than 100%, there is still a risk of failure. Fortunately, he opened 3 treasures that are helpful for the giant Dan stage from the light ball, and even a drop of the 6th grade King Suyui, so the success rate of the giant Dan stage is greatly improved. The next thing to do is to continue to temper your mind and soul, and wait for the ice firefly grass to mature. Although Lu Xuan was full of expectations for the breakthrough of the giant Dan stage, he did not rush for success. Instead, he was very patient and focused on planting all the spiritual plants in the spiritual field. Half a year passed in a blink of an eye. During this period, he mostly stayed in the cave, occasionally going to the Thunder Sea to find the alien thunder beast, pluck a few drops of thunder liquid, and collect some spiritual thunder needed by thunder spiritual plants. Or go to the star picking tower and enter the Halao branch to identify the strange spiritual plants from all over the world. In order to avoid being too much in the limelight, he deliberately concealed his shortcomings and only told a small part of the spiritual plants. However, this has made the senior executives of the Halao Chamber of Commerce very satisfied. After all, the spiritual plants that can be sent to Lu Xuan have been screened many times by a large number of spiritual plant masters, but Lu Xuan can still recognize them, which makes the Chamber of Commerce feel that inviting him to become a guest official is an extremely correct decision. The rest of the time, he stayed in the cave, cultivating spiritual plants, tempering his mind, strengthening his soul, and accumulating strength bit by bit for the breakthrough of the Dan. During this period, many spiritual plants matured in the spiritual field, such as the remaining fairy peaches, the 2 spiritual fruits of ice and fire, and some common spiritual fruits for brewing the 100-fruit spiritual juice. The grades were not very high. The light balls rewarded were mainly 2nd grade and 3rd grade, and only a small part was 4th grade treasures. Lu Xuan kept them in the storage bag, and waited for a chance to exchange them for some spiritual stones. On this day, Lu Xuan slowly patrolled the spiritual field and carefully observed the growth of all the spiritual plants in the spiritual field. Half a year later, several newly acquired high-level spiritual plants grew a little. After obtaining the skeleton of the 5th grade giant spiritual elephant, the speed of building the white bone viewing platform of the skeleton demon temple was slightly accelerated. Countless delicate and slender skeleton branches were linked together to form an exquisite and complex viewing platform base. He then shuttled through the subtle lightning and came to the corner of the cave. In the corner, there was only one spiritual plant planted within a radius of several feet. The tree had a lot of strange blue-black branches, and the bark was like an old woman, dry and old. At this moment, countless blue-black branches waved out after images, constantly slapping the cloud-stepping links shrouded in it. After learning that the Shamu tree demon was extremely aggressive, Xuan deliberately planted it in a corner of the cave and set up simple restrictions to prevent the cave beast from mistakenly entering it. But this restriction was nothing to the cloud-stepping lynx, who moved around every day and had a pair of magical eyes. It easily entered the territory of the Shamu tree demon and was attacked crazily by the sapling in a moment of distraction. The cloud-stepping lynx, who had such an experience for the first time in the cave, fled in panic. After returning to Xuan, he wanted to let the sapling go because they both belonged to the cave. But the more he thought about it, the angrier he became, and he returned to the corner and re-entered the territory of the Shamu tree demon. Then, a spiritual plant and a spiritual beast formed a special relationship of love and hate. The cloud-stepping lynx ran in from time to time, repeatedly probing the edge of the tree demon's territory. Once the Shamu tree demon attacked madly, its body turned into a black light and nimbly dodged the dark blue branches. As soon as it noticed Xuan approaching, the cloud-stepping lynx immediately stopped, let out a low roar, tilted its head slightly, and the two tufts of grey hair on the tips of its ears swayed gently. "You come to harm my spiritual plant again." Xuan sensed the affection in the cloud-stepping lynx's heart, grabbed its neck, and pulled the two tufts of hair into a heart shape. Although the Shamu tree demon was fierce, it was very honest in front of Xuan, mainly because it had tried to attack Xuan before, but was easily blocked by Xuan, and even tore off some branches, leaving a deep impression on the little tree demon with simple intelligence. In addition, it also knew that its growth mainly depended on Xuan, and it had to bow its head and submit obediently. The other two 6th grade spiritual plants obtained from the auction. The ghost-eating evil vine has grown a short section, and the light black buds are strangely shaped, covering a ball of black yin-ki. The wailing of resentful souls can be vaguely heard inside, as if a low-level yin object is slowly taking shape. In the past 6 months, the ghosts and resentments that feed the ghost-eating evil vine are all of the lowest level, but they can completely deal with the early growth problems of the ghost-eating evil vine. As for the remaining sitting Buddha lotus, it was planted near the Vajra body, and it was touched by the light of the magic weapon of the demon suppressing peg. The golden spiritual plant is full of vitality, and has faint signs of taking root and sprouting. Xuan walked between the ridges of the spiritual field, looking at the large area of spiritual plants that are growing well, and his heart is extremely satisfied. Many spiritual plants in the spiritual field have entered the mature stage, including the 4th grade Kinglian swordgrass. In addition, the Jiaoteng, the earth fire heart lotus, the 5-element fruit, etc. planted when leaving the Xianjian sect have also begun to mature one after another, and the harvest of the light ball is just around the corner. The ice firefly grass is about to mature. Finally, he came to a spiritual field covered with a thin layer of frost. Looking at the more than 10 extremely cold ice fireflies scattered in an orderly manner, and sighed in his heart. Everything is ready, only the east wind is missing. Chapter 630, Dan Formation. The ice firefly grass matured faster than Xuan expected. Not long after, when he was inspecting the spiritual field to check the spiritual plants, he found that the translucent progress bars under 4 azure and extremely cold spiritual herbs were fully filled. Xuan carefully picked them. 4 ice fireflies, 3 of which were of ordinary quality, and 1 of which was of good quality. For a 3rd grade spiritual plant, this was already quite rare. He put away the ice firefly grass and his eyes fell on the 4 white light balls that quietly emerged. It was about forming a pill. Even though he had experienced countless times in the red dust monument, he still felt a little uneasy. His figure passed by like floating light, and 4 slightly flickering white light balls silently shattered, like fireworks blooming. The tiny light spots in the sky condensed into rivers of light, and poured into Xuan's body one after another. Several thoughts flashed through his mind. Harvest 1 3rd grade ice firefly grass and gain 5 years of cultivation. Harvest 1 3rd grade ice firefly grass and gain the 4th grade treasure ice soul pill. Harvest 4 ice fireflies, 3 of which were cultivation rewards, adding 20 years of cultivation to him. A huge amount of spiritual energy surged out of his body for no reason, running around in the meridians, and madly impacting. It's time to form a pill. Xuan worked hard to operate the exercises, transforming the spiritual power that suddenly appeared in his body into drops of spiritual liquid. Feeling the spiritual liquid that was about to overflow in the dungeon, he had a glimmer of enlightenment in his heart. Then, he activated the 2 formations of the illusionary 5-element formation and the cloud bamboo arrow formation, and came to a quiet room on the mountainside. After more than 30 years of hard farming, I finally reached the day of forming a pill. He was calm in his heart, his mind entered the dungeon, feeling the abundant spiritual liquid in the sea of ki, and sighed. Most people who have completed their foundation building and promoted to the formation of a pill usually stay in the sect or some unknown spiritual land, protected by formations, providing a safe and stable breakthrough environment, and even have the protection of the elders of the Dan primordial infant sect to prevent danger during the promotion process. Although Xuan does not have such a superior breakthrough environment now, he does not mind it at all. The 2 5th grade formations are enough to protect himself. As for the dangers he may encounter during the promotion process, he believes that with his accumulation and preparation, he will be able to get through it safely. With a thought, the spiritual liquid in the Danshan Ki sea fluctuated violently like boiling water. Xuan's spiritual consciousness controlled it and tried to compress the many spiritual liquids into solid spiritual crystals. The spiritual power consumed in this process can be called a large amount. The purer the spiritual power, the easier the compression and transformation processes, and the purer the spiritual crystals obtained are. The spiritual power in Xuan's body almost all comes from the light ball, without any turbid breath, so the transformation process is extremely smooth. As the spiritual liquid gradually solidified, a spiritual power vortex was quietly generated with him as the center. The vortex grew rapidly and soon covered the entire cave. The spiritual power around the cave was madly drawn into the vortex. This strange phenomenon of heaven and earth was soon noticed by the Jindan Zenran and foundation building cultivators near the Liho Star Cave. Several streams of light came here and stopped a few miles away from the cave. A fellow Daoist is advancing to the Jindan stage. A middle-aged cultivator in the early Jindan stage looked at the spiritual power vortex in the distance, and a trace of reminiscence flashed in his eyes. This fellow Daoist is too low-key. He is about to advance to the Jindan stage. I don't have any impression of this cave. A gentle female cultivator next to him said with a smile. The female cultivator had a head full of silver hair. After a closer look, she found that it was tempered by lightning. She could temper the fleeting and destructive lightning into lightning threads and attach them to her head. It can be seen that her body and soul are powerful. As a casual cultivator, the possibility of success in advancing to the Jindan stage is too slim. Another young man with a calm temperament said. He himself had such an experience and naturally knew the extremely dangerous hidden in it. Is this the cave where fellow Daoist Lu is? Soon, more than 10 nearby foundation building cultivators were attracted by the strange phenomenon and hung 10 miles away. Looking at Xuan's cave, a trace of envy flashed in their eyes. Advancing to the Jindan stage is what all foundation building cultivators think about day and night and dream of. Among them, there was a one-eyed middle-aged man, Luoming, who had entered the Lihei medicine garden with him earlier. He looked at Xuan's cave, and a hint of jealousy flashed in his eyes. He was frantically thinking about whether he had offended Xuan anywhere. Lei Zeng, who was standing by, looked at the direction of the cave with expectation in his eyes. With a thought, a communication talisman shot out at a high speed. As he absorbed more and more spiritual power, Xuan felt that his meridians had experienced rounds of crazy shocks. Every bone in his body seemed to be pressed by a huge force. Thin cracks appeared on the surface of his skin, and blood seeped out of the cracks. Fortunately, he had practiced the Taeksuhua Langpian and other body refining exercises, and swallowed many spiritual objects of heaven and earth such as Jade Scale Fruit and Emperor Liu Jiang, as well as the 6th grade treasure of Tsui meat. After swallowing it, because Xuan's body was not strong enough, most of the essence of Tsui meat was hidden in his body. At this moment, under great pressure, the remaining essence of Tsui meat quickly repaired and healed Xuan's body. This caused the pressure he faced at this stage to drop sharply. Tiny spiritual crystals slowly appeared in his danshan, floating up and down in his qi like stars in the sky. Lu Xuan sensed a tendency of weakness, bit his tongue lightly, and the holy infant pill that had been hidden in his mouth for a long time shattered silently. A stream of extremely pure yin spiritual power flowed down his throat, passed through his limbs and bones, wrapped in a large amount of spiritual power, and turned into drops of spiritual liquid into the danshan qi. The spiritual liquid was compressed and transformed into more and more spiritual crystals, and slowly came to the last and most difficult step, condensing the crystals into pills, and the spirit and pill merged. Lu Xuan's heart was calm, and he ignored the many thoughts that might lead to the emergence of inner demons during this period. His spiritual consciousness controlled the tiny spiritual crystals like stars in the sky and slowly merged them together. The spirit crystal looked like dust, but it was extremely difficult to control. Fortunately, Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness was nourished by the 5th grade treasure, the soul enriching post, and he had practiced the Shenyang Jing for many years, which made him much stronger than the spiritual consciousness of ordinary foundation building perfect cultivators. This is how he was able to complete this step. He looked at the countless spirit crystals piled up in his danshan, and he knew that it was not the time to save treasures. He sniffed and the drop of jade liquid left in front of him immediately entered his body. The misty air flashed in his danshan, and Lu Xuan felt that his spiritual consciousness had a close connection with the countless spirit crystals, as if they were naturally harmonious. As his mind turned, a clear light flashed, and a golden luster lit up in the center of countless spirit crystals. The luster gradually became solid, and turned into a golden light spot, which continued to devour the surrounding light blue spirit crystals. The spirit crystal continued to collapse, and slowly merged with the golden light spot. In the end, a golden and bright pill with light blue fire inside was formed. Lu Xuan's mind was firm, and he was not pleased with material things. His consciousness was like a sharp blade, rushing towards the golden pill with an unstoppable determination. In an instant, his consciousness seemed to pass through an invisible film and smoothly entered the golden pill. A powerful and rich spirituality surged from the surface of the golden pill and gently fell into the sea of ki in the danshan. The pill was completed. Chapter 631 Congratulations from all sides. Finally I have formed a pill. Lu Xuan looked at the golden pill spinning in his danshan, and felt as if he was in a dream. Back then, the little key training cultivator in Linyang market was busy earning those 3 or 2 broken spirits day and night, and only wanted to survive in the cultivation world. Who would have thought that one day he would be able to break through to the Jiandan realm? The foundation building cultivators in the market all needed him to look up to them, but he didn't expect that he would become the one that other cultivators looked up to. I was able to successfully break through to the Jiandan realm, mainly because of my own hard work and a little bit of help from the light ball. He became more determined to guard the spirit field and reap the rewards of the light ball. As the thought flashed through his mind, he carefully felt the many changes in his body. His body was obviously much more solid and powerful, and he was full of strength. It seemed that he could smash a mountain with one punch. When the spiritual power flowed to his feet, he felt a sense of floating, and his speed was also greatly improved. The blood was flowing, and the blood was extremely vigorous. Although he had not experimented, he could also feel that the vitality was extremely strong. The range of spiritual consciousness has expanded from 2 or 3 miles to more than 20 miles. The thoughts are turning rapidly without any stagnation. The unclear points in the previous practice of the exercises seem to be loosened up. The most important change is the spiritual power. The spiritual power, provided by the golden pill, is more than 10 times purer than the spiritual liquid in the foundation building stage. It is endless, like a river flowing endlessly. Such a pure and rich spiritual power means that I can plant several times more spiritual plants. Lu Xuan couldn't help but have such a thought in his mind. Planting spiritual plants is not to plant them in the spiritual soil and mature smoothly. During the period, they need to be cultivated with basic techniques such as spiritual rain technique and wood growth technique. Even some high-level spiritual plants have special requirements for spiritual power. In addition, in order to have a higher survival rate of spiritual plants and better quality when mature, Lu Xuan has always adhered to the principle of refined cultivation. Naturally, the spiritual power and energy consumed are much more than ordinary spiritual plant masters. Due to the limitation of spiritual power, the number of spiritual plants in the spiritual field can only be maintained at a certain level. Now that he has been promoted to the done stage, he can naturally cultivate more spiritual plants. The light blue fire in the golden pill, as far as he knew, was the key to refining magic weapons. He currently had several 5th grade treasures suitable for refining into magic weapons, but due to his mind, spiritual power, time and other reasons, he had to make some choices, and could not refine all of them. Before refining the magic weapon, there is one more thing that must be resolved. First, deal with the many cultivators outside the cave who were attracted by the strange phenomenon. The promotion to the Giant stage made a lot of noise. I didn't expect to attract so many Giant masters. Xuan's spiritual consciousness swept across the outside of the cave inside. He then put on a dark blue robe, and his figure flashed to the entrance of the cave. Outside the cave, after the spiritual energy vortex phenomenon disappeared, many cultivators did not rush to leave. I don't know whether the promotion was successful or failed. The gentle female cultivator with long lace hair like a waterfall said in a low voice. It is very difficult to break through to the Giant realm, and it is even more difficult for casual cultivators. If you succeed, it's fine. If you fail, it is very likely to cause the spiritual energy to explode, the inner demon to invade, and the soul to be lost. If there is no Giant or Yuan Great Guardian, I'm afraid it will be. If the spiritual plant master casual cultivator in the cave encounters an accident, wouldn't it be possible to share some high-level spiritual plants? Someone had such a greedy thought in his heart. Dear guests, I'm sorry for not welcoming you in person. Suddenly, a clear voice came from the cave, and then a handsome young man appeared in front of everyone. The young man had a clear face, deep and clear pupils, and a smile on his face. A strong spiritual pressure was involuntarily emanating from his surroundings. It was Xuan who had just broken through to the Giant realm. Feeling the strong sense of oppression coming from him, a group of foundation building cultivators couldn't help but bow their heads, and only the remaining few Giant real people could easily deal with it. Congratulations to fellow Daoist on your promotion to the Giant stage. From now on, the Great Dao will be evergreen. Congratulations to fellow Daoist Lu. You have been promoted to the Giant stage at such a young age. You will definitely be able to reach the Yuan stage and attain the Great Dao. Congratulations to Senior Lu on your promotion to the Giant stage. As soon as Xuan appeared, various congratulations came one after another. Thank you fellow Daoist. I just succeeded in the promotion by chance. The cave is a bit simple. Please come in and take a look. Lu likes to grow some spiritual plants on weekdays. I don't have anything else, but I still have enough spiritual fruits and spiritual juice. He smiled and invited everyone. The leading Giant and real people looked at each other and nodded in agreement. The 10 or so foundation building cultivators behind followed closely and entered Xuan's cave together. When they arrived at the small courtyard, everyone sat down one by one. Xuan's spiritual power moved, and various spiritual fruits and spiritual juices were presented. It tastes good. It's a rare spiritual brew. It seems to have the effect of washing away the dirty breath in the body. A calm middle-aged man in the early stage of Giant tasted a mouthful of the jade washing spirit dew and immediately praised it. After being promoted to the Giant stage, although there is no need to indulge in the desire for food, it is still pleasant to encounter delicious food, not to mention the treasures with special functions. Jade washing spiritual dew is a 4th grade spiritual brew, and its high grade is quite rare among spiritual brews. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, everyone took the spiritual dew and praised it. At the same time, they were also impressed by Xuan's generosity. After all, it is extremely difficult for ordinary cultivators to take out jade washing spiritual dew to entertain so many guests. I didn't expect that fellow Daoist Luke could cultivate such high quality spiritual fruits and brew such magical spiritual brews. Xuan cultivated a wide variety of spiritual fruits, and the average quality was far beyond the products of ordinary spiritual plant masters, which naturally attracted praise from all the cultivators. I don't have any other hobbies. I just like to grow some flowers and plants, and brew some spiritual brews when I'm free, Xuan said with a smile. Other Daoists may only cultivate spiritual plants as a means to obtain cultivation resources, but I'm different. For me, spiritual plants have an extraordinary status. You can even postpone cultivation. He continued to consolidate his image as a spiritual plant master in front of everyone. Taking advantage of this time, he also met many Giant and Zenran. While chatting, suddenly, a clear voice came from outside the cave. Congratulations to Daoist Lu on his promotion to Giant. A refined cultivator with silver white eyes flew in from outside the cave. Kiwu Hang Star Envoy. Many cultivators who came to Lu Xuan's cave have lived in it for many years. Naturally, they are not unfamiliar with the person in front of them. They all stood up and greeted the refined cultivator. At the same time, their opinions of Lu Xuan quietly improved a lot. To be able to attract one of the rulers of Liho Star Cave to come and congratulate him, this so-called spiritual plant master must have something extraordinary. The refined cultivator nodded gently and motioned for everyone to sit down. Yan Juan of Halao Chamber of Commerce has come to visit with his juniors to congratulate fellow Daoist Lu on his promotion to the Giant realm. Another voice came into everyone's ears from outside the cave. Yan Juan of Halao Chamber of Commerce? A late Giant and cultivator. One of the Chamber of Commerce's top executives. Why would he come specifically for a spiritual plant master who has just been promoted to the Giant realm? Everyone looked at Lu Xuan with complicated eyes. He didn't enter the palace. His Tao heart was damaged by the blind date, and he caught a cold these 2 days. But he will leave his hometown soon, and then he will live a happy single life of coding. Chapter 632 Snow Barrier Ice Jade Lotus 5 Colored Soil. In a blink of an eye, a middle-aged cultivator with a gentle temperament, like Jade, entered the cave, followed by a tall old man with red eyes. It was the Taoist Mu who asked Lu Xuan to cultivate the skeleton demon temple in the Zexing Tower. Hello, Senior Yan, fellow Daoist Mu. Lu Xuan flew forward and saluted respectfully. Fellow Daoist Lu, there is no need to be so polite. I learned that you have been promoted to the Giant stage. I happened to be near the Shiangsing cave, so I brought little friend Mu to your cave to join in the fun. Yan Juan said gently with a smile on his face. Congratulations to Senior Lu for being promoted to the Giant stage. Behind him, Taoist Mu, who had met him several times before, said to Lu Xuan with a complicated expression. He has been staying in the foundation building stage for many years. During this period, he tried to break through the Giant stage several times but failed. Fortunately, he was protected by the elders in his family, so he was safe and sound. Therefore, he naturally knew how difficult it was to break through the Giant stage. As long as there was a little flaw in spiritual power, physical body, soul, etc., it would be very likely to fail. After learning that Lu Xuan had been promoted to the Giant stage, he first felt incredible, then 7 parts of envy and jealousy, 3 parts of joy, and a mixture of emotions. Fellow Daoist Mu, there is no need to be so formal. You and I can continue to address each other as fellow Daoist. Lu Xuan had a good impression of this fellow Daoist Mu, and said with a smile. The 3 of them came to the small courtyard. Hello, fellow Daoist Yan. Qi Wu Heng, the star envoy, took the lead and greeted the gentle middle-aged man. Fellow Daoist Qi, I didn't expect to meet you here. Yan Juan nodded. As one of the senior executives of the Halao Chamber of Commerce, he was naturally quite familiar with the star envoys of the Liho Star Cave. Fellow Daoist Lu once cured a spirit beast that had been with me for many years. After learning that he had been promoted to the Giant stage, I came to congratulate him. I see. Yan Juan clasped his fists to everyone. Fellow Daoist Lu is now a guest of the Halao Chamber of Commerce. Please take care of him in the future. Fellow Daoist Yan, you are too polite. This is what I should do. Take care of each other. Take care of each other. Everyone suddenly realized that being a guest of the Halao Chamber of Commerce is not something that ordinary cultivators can do. Even if you are in the late Giant stage, if you don't have something that attracts the Chamber of Commerce, you can't be a guest. And Lu Xuan, it seems that he has become a guest of the Chamber of Commerce before he was promoted to the Giant stage. Thinking of this, everyone felt a little incredible. What is it about this fellow Daoist Lu that attracts the Chamber of Commerce? Could it be that he is a spiritual plant master? The cultivators present all felt that the value of these 3 words increased a lot. Is it too late to plant spiritual plants now? Fellow Daoist Yan and Daoist Qi, Thank you for your compliments. I'm just a little bit accomplished in spiritual plants. I happened to solve a few related minor matters, so I met you too. As the saying goes, everyone has his own specialty. You must be good at many more things than me. As long as you are truly passionate, the way of heaven will not let you down for your hard work. Lu Xuan explained modestly, and fed them a big mouthful of chicken soup. Everyone suddenly understood. Yes, he must have made sacrifices in other aspects to achieve today's achievements. He is good at spiritual plants. Maybe he is not as good as me in refining pills and tools. He neglected his cultivation and stayed in the cave all day. He must not have as many treasures as me. His fighting skills and magical powers are not as good as mine, right? Thinking of this, several giant and cultivators felt much more balanced. Lu Xuan warmly entertained Qi Wuheng and Yan Zhuan, who had just entered the cave. Yan Zhuan looked at the various spiritual plants growing well all over the mountains and fields, with a look of satisfaction in his eyes. After the spirit of the weapon pointed out Lu Xuan's extraordinary attainments in spiritual plants, he and the others decided to invite Lu Xuan to be a guest of the Chamber of Commerce. It was an extraordinary move to let a foundation building cultivator become a guest of the Chamber of Commerce. Many people in the Chamber of Commerce opposed it. He overcame all objections and finally implemented this move. Unexpectedly, not long after becoming a guest, Lu Xuan was promoted to the Giandan realm, which made his previous decision extremely wise. Everyone tasted the spiritual fruit and spiritual juice. When they were drunk, Qi Wuheng stood up and said to Lu Xuan, "Dao Lu, congratulations on your promotion to the Giandan realm. This is a small gift, not a respect, but please accept it." A gorgeous and dazzling spiritual seed appeared in front of him. The spiritual seed was the size of a fist, crystal clear like jade, as if it was wrapped by countless layers of thin jade pieces, and there was a milky white aura around it, and the coldness could be felt from afar. The name of the spiritual seed is Snow Barrier Ice Jade Lotus, 5th grade, top grade ice spiritual plant. I hope that fellow Daoist Lu can successfully cultivate it. This is too precious, Lu Xuan said, but his eyes could not move away from the surface of the spiritual seed. Every 5th grade spiritual seed is hard won. Even if he has more than 10 kinds of 5th grade spiritual plants in his spiritual field, he still wants to take the new ones for himself. The spiritual beast, that fellow Daoist Lu cured, has been with me since I was in the key training stage. It has saved me from danger several times. We have a deep relationship with each other. You helped me so much. It's nothing to give a spiritual seed to fellow Daoist on his happy occasion, Qi Wuheng said with a smile. With a small realm higher than Lu Xuan, who had just been promoted to the Giandan stage, he forcibly sent the spiritual seed to Lu Xuan. Then I will be disrespectful. Lu Xuan could not refuse, so he accepted the strange spiritual seed. Dao Lu, I came from the Chamber of Commerce in a hurry, and didn't bring anything good. This 5-color soil is a small token of my appreciation. I congratulate you on your promotion to the Giandan stage. Yan Zhuan followed closely behind him, and took out a small pile of spiritual soil from his storage bag. The spiritual soil was surrounded by 5-color spiritual light, as if it had merged into one, and amazing spiritual power could be felt from it. The 5-color soil comes from the interior of a 5-element mountain range in a foreign land. It is attached with rich 5-element spiritual power, which can greatly promote the growth of spiritual plants related to the 5-element. Thank you, Dao Yan. The first time is new, the second time is familiar. This time Lu Xuan took the small pile of 5-color soil very naturally. Afterwards, the many cultivators who came to congratulate each took out a small thing and gave it to Lu Xuan as a gift. However, no matter whether it was strength or family background, they were not as good as Qi Wuheng and the others, so the gifts they gave were relatively ordinary, and Lu Xuan gladly accepted them. When everyone was leaving, they also gave each of them a portion of spiritual fruit and spiritual juice as a return gift. Soon, the cave was empty, leaving only Lu Xuan alone and the many spirit beasts hiding in the back mountain. Lu Xuan was more used to the current situation, and he was relaxed, flying around the cave. After he was promoted to the Giandan stage, he could easily fly for a long time, but his speed was not as fast as the bonus of King Fiulu, and his spirit power was consumed faster, so he could only use it at certain times. 5-colored soil, 5 element spirit power. There are some spirit plants related to the 5 element in the cave, such as fiery flame fruit, ice raisin fruit, earth fire heart lotus, etc. But they are only single 5 element attributes. If they are cultivated with 5 colored soil, it would be a bit of a waste. Fortunately, when I left the Xianji sect, I brought out the 5 element fruit spirit plant, so I can focus on planting it in the future. He controlled the 5 colored soil with his spiritual consciousness, evenly sprinkled it in a piece of spirit field, and merged it with those ordinary spirit soils. Chapter 633, Xuan King's subtle method. After evenly spreading the 5 colored soil, he immediately transplanted 2 5 element fruits from the spiritual field. When he left the Xianji sect, he knew about the migration in advance, so he exchanged a lot of 4th grade spiritual seeds from the Sinner Hall. Among them, there were 2 5 element fruits, and he also learned the method of condensing the 5 element fruits and the earth fire heart lotus. When the number of spiritual seeds accumulates, perhaps he can try to improve them into higher grade spiritual plants. After arriving at the Thunderfire Cave, the several 4th grade spiritual plants have entered the mature stage, and a large number of light balls will be harvested at that time. Then, he found an empty spiritual field, took out the snow barrier ice jade lotus spiritual seed, performed the earth attraction technique, and planted the spiritual seed in the spiritual soil. With his thoughts turning, the spiritual rain technique, that had long been perfected, was silently performed. Clouds surged above the spiritual field, and strands of spiritual rain dripped down, and seeped into the spiritual seeds. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on the spiritual seeds on the thin jade sheet, and he immediately learned the detailed information about the spiritual seeds. Snow barrier ice jade lotus, a 5th grade spiritual plant, needs to be planted in ice cold spiritual soil and spiritual, or when it is cultivated, and nourished with cold spiritual liquid. After maturity, it can be used as the main material of the 5th grade elixir ice kaidan, and can also be used to assist in the practice of related exercises and magical powers, and to raise spiritual beasts of the same attribute. The day of breaking the barrier, the time of blooming. Ice cold spiritual soil and spiritual ore. Spiritual soil is not available for the time being, but the spiritual ore has the 3rd grade 100-year ice soul and its advanced purified version of the 4th grade ice soul pill, which is more than enough to cultivate a 5th grade spiritual plant. As for the ice spiritual liquid, when I left the incomplete secret realm, I took away a lot of Yaoquan Linglin, which can also ensure its growth. Lu Xuan felt much more at ease. He took out a piece of 100-year ice soul from the gluttonous insect sack, punched it with his fist to make a small hole, and put the snow barrier ice jade lotus spiritual seed in it just right. The Qi Wuheng Star Envoy and the Halao Chamber of Commerce are really generous. The first gift they gave was a 5th grade treasure, and they were all what a spiritual plant master needed. It was like scratching my itch. He looked at the spiritual seeds that became more and more crystal clear in the 100-year-old ice spirit, and sighed in his heart. However, as long as I can continuously harvest light balls, my wealth and strength will definitely surpass them. Lu Xuan has great confidence in himself, or in the light balls. After all, among the light ball rewards he harvested, only a few came from 5th grade spiritual plants, and the rest were 4th grade and below. With these, he could successfully break through the Giant stage, and his strength was much stronger than other newly promoted Giant cultivators. Not to mention the many 5th grade, 6th grade and even 7th grade spiritual plants in the spiritual field that were about to mature. He was calm and walked around the spiritual field with a relaxed pace. The growth of many spiritual plants was very good, and many of them had entered the mature stage, and harvesting light balls was just around the corner. Another piece of pure glazed tea has matured. On the tea tree with jagged branches, there are 2 pieces of light green tea leaves. The surface of the tea leaves is shining, and you can smell it from afar. Lu Xuan noticed that the semi-transparent progress bar below the piece that is relatively high has been fully filled. He was overjoyed and carefully picked the light green tea leaves. Pure glazed tea leaves can greatly improve the understanding of the monks after taking them. The effect can last for a long time. As time goes by, it gradually weakens and eventually disappears. At the same time, it can also form a clear and spiritual aura on the surface of the monks' bodies, which has a purifying effect on evil and filthy things, and all evil cannot invade. A good treasure to improve understanding. If you use it yourself, you must use it at a critical moment. Xuan thought secretly, took out an exquisite jade box from the gluttonous insect sack, put the pure glazed tea leaves into it, and then his eyes fell on the slightly flickering white light ball on the branch. He reached out his hand and gently touched the surface of the light ball. In an instant, the light ball silently shattered into tiny light spots all over the sky. The light spots condensed into a river of light and quickly flowed into Xuan's body. Then, a thought flashed through his mind. Harvest a piece of 5th grade pure glass tea leaves and obtain the 6th grade cultivation method Xuan King Wei Mao Fa. The thought disappeared and an ancient book appeared in Xuan's hand. The book was filled with pure air, and when it was opened, thousands of small characters could be seen swimming. It was obvious that it was not an ordinary thing. Xuan closed the page, and his mind was focused on this ancient book. In an instant, he learned detailed information about it. Xuan King Wei Mao Fa, a 6th grade method, is the core origin method of Xuan sect in the foreign Xuan realm. It can be practiced to the perfection of Dan. After successful practice, it is invulnerable to all evil, and extremely restrains the evil methods and treasures of evil demons and heretics. At the same time, it is possible to comprehend the magical powers of exorcising demons and killing evil. 6th grade method. Xuan was overjoyed. After breaking through to the Jiandan realm, the technique he currently mastered was the great 5-element kung fu learned in the Xianjian sect, but that technique only reached the perfect foundation building realm, and did not include the subsequent parts of the Jiandan. Now, this Xuan King Wei Mao Fa makes up for this shortcoming. Well, although most of the cultivation comes from the light ball, the necessary techniques are still necessary. At least the spiritual power that appears in the body needs to be refined and absorbed by the technique. Furthermore, when practicing this technique, it is possible to comprehend the magical power of killing evil. Practice. You must practice well. Xuan shouted in his heart. However, he knew that with his own understanding, it would not be a one-day job to comprehend a 6th grade technique, so he was not in a hurry for success. He maintained a good attitude, opened the classics, and carefully read the handwriting on it. After half an hour, he closed the classics. His mind was blank. What does the book say? It seems like I know everything, but I don't understand the content at all. He felt that he still overestimated himself, and resolutely took out a piece of pure glass tea from the storage bag and swallowed it. Comprehension. Give me 999. A clear air dissipated from his throat, flowing through Xuan's limbs and bones, and finally entered his sea of consciousness, lingering for a long time. In an instant, he felt that his thoughts were clearer and sharper than ever before, and he had a new understanding of the contents of the book. He stood there quietly, as if he had realized something, and woke up after several hours. It is worthy of being a 5th grade treasure. It actually raised my mediocre comprehension to the level of genius. He opened his eyes, a gleam of light flashed in his eyes, and said softly, with the help of the pure glass tea, his comprehension improved a lot, and the contents of the book were no longer so obscure when he read them again. He had a preliminary understanding of this Xuan King Wei Mao Fa. However, the 6th grade technique is not so easy to understand thoroughly. It takes a long time of comprehension to successfully comprehend and practice smoothly. It's a pity that there is only one leaf left on this pure glazed tea tree. Xuan looked at the pure glazed tea spirit plant with a little regret in his heart. 2 leaves of tea, which produced the 6th grade pure marrow jade liquid and the Xuan King Wei Mao Fa, are all rare treasures, making him feel reluctant to part with the last leaf. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 634, Ice Marrow Spirit Brew. Back in the house, Xuan sat cross-legged on the bed, thinking about whether to sacrifice those 5th grade treasures into magic tools. After the golden elixir is formed, the fire in the golden elixir can be used to refine magic tools and then be integrated into the body of the cultivator to become a magic weapon. Magic tools are divided into 3 levels: high, medium and low. Among them, 5th grade and 6th grade magic tools can be sacrificed into low level magic tools, and so on. Among the 10 or so 5th grade treasures that Lu Xuan obtained, not every one is suitable for sacrifice and refining into a magic weapon. He knew their characteristics the moment he got the treasures. He couldn't sacrifice every 5th grade treasure into a magic weapon. After all, it would consume too much mind and fire. In addition, there would be time and energy, etc. With his current spiritual consciousness, he couldn't control too many magic tools at the same time. After thinking about it, he decided to sacrifice 2 5th grade treasures into magic weapons first, namely the gluttonous insect capsule and the peacocking sword. One is a space treasure, which is extremely useful to him as a spiritual plant master, and the other is his most powerful means at present. In addition, he has a great background, so the chance of success in the sacrifice is relatively higher. The remaining items such as the Wanhu banner, Nanming Lihuonet, and the 9-headed dragon diagram were temporarily kept to see whether to continue using them or find an opportunity to sell them. He accepted all kinds of evil spiritual plants, but he still had some resistance to evil treasures, especially those of the cultivation method. It might be a habit he had developed in the Xianjian sect for decades, and the evil cultivation methods often required a lot of killing, and the methods were extremely sinister and vicious, so there was a little danger when practicing. Therefore, after obtaining the 6th grade cultivation method blood nerf and the magical power soul capturing blood palm, he has not tried to practice until now because he is worried about the risk of alienation. There is no need to worry about the cultivation methods and magical powers. After all, there are so many 5th grade and 6th grade spiritual plants that are about to mature. Lu Xuan thought optimistically. The impact of advancing to the Jiandan stage was greater than he imagined. In the following days, there were cultivators who visited him every day to get to know Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan warmly entertained them one by one and took this opportunity to get to know many Jiandan masters. Gradually, the number of monks who came to visit him decreased, and he eventually returned to his previous ordinary life. Every day, he cultivated spiritual plants, raised spiritual beasts, and took the opportunity of his enlightenment to comprehend the Xuanshan King Wei Miao Fa, and slowly he was able to get some clues. A month passed in a blink of an eye, and Lu Xuan came to the spiritual field, looking at the more than 10 ice fireflies with a thin layer of frost condensed at his feet. In order to break through the Dan, he used the King Mu Yuan key to slightly ripen them. After a period of time, 4 more ice fireflies were fully mature. Lu Xuan picked the ice fireflies from the spiritual soil with ease, put them in a long jade box, and sealed them with talismans to prevent the vitality of the spiritual plants from fading. Then, the figure passed by like a stream of light, and 4 slightly flickering white light balls shattered silently at almost the same time, turning into 4 rivers of light that flowed into Lu Xuan's body one after another. Harvest a 3rd grade ice firefly grass, and get a 3-year cultivation reward. Harvest a 3rd grade ice firefly grass, and get a 5-year cultivation reward. 4 light balls, 2 of which are cultivation rewards, bringing Lu Xuan 8 years of cultivation. Sure enough, after the promotion to the Jiandan stage, if the difference in grades is too large, it will affect the richness of the rewards. Lu Xuan couldn't help but sigh. With the precedent of the ungraded spiritual firefly grass, he started to cultivate and improve the 2nd grade water firefly grass as early as the foundation building stage, and finally succeeded by luck. If he harvested the light balls of the 2nd grade water firefly grass after the Jiandan stage, the cultivation rewards it brought would be greatly reduced. Now, the cultivation rewards brought by the 3rd grade ice firefly grass are cut in half, from 5 years of ordinary quality to 3 years, and 10 years of good quality to 5 years. He was quite accepting of the effect of the ice firefly grass. The further you practice, the more spiritual power you need increases exponentially. If you practice normally, even if you consume nearly 800,000 years of his life, it is probably difficult to practice to the middle stage of the Jiandan stage. After refining and absorbing the spiritual power that appeared out of thin air in his body, he will focus on the rewards of the other 2 light balls. Harvest a 3rd grade ice firefly grass, and obtain the 4th grade treasure ice marrow spirit brew. The thought disappeared, and a small bottle of spiritual wine appeared in front of Xuan. The bottle was translucent, and you could clearly see that there was more than half a bottle of pure white spiritual wine inside. There was a lot of material similar to crushed ice in the spiritual wine. When it was gently shaken, it made a rustling sound, reflecting various magnificent scenes. Ice Marrow Spiritual Wine, a 4th grade treasure, is brewed with a variety of ice spiritual fruits and rare ice marrow jade. It tastes wonderful and unique. It can slightly increase the spiritual power in the body of a cultivator, and has a strong healing effect on fire poison damage. There is another new spiritual wine. Xuan looked at the Ice Marrow Spiritual Wine in the bottle and couldn't help but drink a sip. A refreshing and cool feeling rushed straight to his head, like getting a bottle of Fat House Happy Water on a hot summer day, cooling from head to toe. Cool through the heart. My heart is flying. Such a sentence flashed through his mind involuntarily. The spiritual wine is sweet and slightly sour. The ice marrow jade inside has been specially processed, and has a soft and sandy taste. It tastes good. He commented briefly. The last light bowl brought new rewards. Harvest a 3rd grade ice firefly grass, and obtain the 4th grade ice marrow spirit brew recipe. Or thought flashed through his mind, and a large amount of information poured in, filling up Xuan's sea of consciousness. The various ice attributed spirit fruits used to brew ice marrow spirit brew, as well as their processing, matching, dosage, etc., and how to process ice marrow jade to maintain the best taste, and how to blend the two together. It is better to teach a man how to fish than to give him a fish. Just give me the brewing recipe of ice marrow spirit brew. It is really a good light group. A bottle of ice marrow spirit brew can't withstand a few sips from him, but it's different with the recipe. It can be brewed independently. In the future, add another common spirit brew in the cave. 100 fruit spirit juice, jade washing spirit dew, ice marrow spirit brew, and more. Maybe you can try to open a spirit brew shop. And the heart monkey fruit entrusted by the old white ape. I wonder if it will give you the unique recipe of their monkey wine. Xuan sighed secretly. 17 ice fireflies. 3 were picked before, plus the 4 picked now. There are still 10 left. Among them, a few must be kept as seed-forming spiritual plants, so as to accumulate more spiritual seeds, and then slowly improve the cultivation. The number of ice firefly grass spiritual seeds is still too small. The water firefly grass can be harvested in the future. Anyway, both the cultivation and the treasure rewards are relatively useless for me at the moment. Use all of them for seed forming. Although the possibility of ice firefly grass spiritual seeds stimulated by improvement is not great, it can greatly shorten the time of insufficient supply of spiritual seeds in the early stage. Xuan thought secretly in his heart. At this moment, his demand for ice firefly grass spiritual seeds has reached an extremely strong level. After all, with his qualifications, after reaching the Giandan realm, the spiritual power in his body will not change much after practicing for many days, and his cultivation is almost entirely dependent on the ice firefly grass spiritual plant. Dry cough after catching a cold. Chapter 635 The strongest spiritual plant. He planned to use all the remaining 10 ice fireflies to condense seeds, and obtain as many ice firefly spirit seeds as possible. Picking a few plants, and harvesting a few light balls would not be a big gain for him who had already condensed the elixir, so it would be better to increase the output and double it back. After a good harvest, he continued to patrol the spiritual field. After arriving at the Thunderfire Star Cave, many newly planted spirit plants have entered the growth stage one after another. The 4th grade thunderstorm lotus, with countless silver white fine lightning rays pouring down on the pure white lotus leaves, like forming a small waterfall of lightning. When the spiritual power touches the spirit plant, you can feel the bursts of irritability coming from it, as if the lightning rays above may riot at any time. The 5th grade 5 thunder twin flowers, with 5 small buds on the branches and leaves, in 5 colors. Each small bud has the corresponding 5 element of spiritual thunder flowing. The 6th grade zigui thunder fruit, with bright purple branches and leaves, is elegant and exudes a strong thunder aura. Beauty and danger coexist. After half a year of nourishment from the wood-type thunder liquid from the secret realm of the thunder beast, the 7th grade yummy green thunder vine finally grew a short seedling in the green light ball. The seedling was not very regular in shape. At first glance, it looked like it was cut directly from a thunderbolt, containing pure thunder type spiritual power. I didn't expect that. After coming to the Thunder Mars cave, I unexpectedly gathered a dragon of thunder type spiritual plants. Lu Xuan sighed secretly. From the 4th grade to the 7th grade, they are of the same origin. Maybe a large number of thunder type magic tools, skills, and magical powers can be produced by then. He has already figured out some rules, based on the light balls he harvested earlier. Continue to inspect the spiritual field. In the high-level spiritual plant area, the newly acquired sitting Buddha lotus spiritual seeds have not yet been bred. Only above it can you occasionally glimpse the shadow of a little monk with full Buddha nature. The little monk sat above the spiritual seeds with a smile on his face. Once there was a slight disturbance, he would disappear immediately. The ghost-eating vine, which also came from the auction of the Halao Chamber of Commerce, has grown a lot, because it was a seedling when it was auctioned. Several small yin objects have condensed on the spiritual plant. The yin energy is pure. Lu Xuan tried it, and found that it was probably only at the low level of ki training. It can use the yin energy to enter the body, and will unconsciously use a few simple small illusions. The effect is better than nothing. When you grow to a certain stage, I will catch a few evil ghosts, to cultivate and nourish you. Lu Xuan muttered to himself, took out the soul-destroying bell from the storage bag, and forced out a few resentful souls. As soon as the resentful souls appeared, the ghost-eating vine seemed to smell a unique delicacy. The vine shot out with lightning, and pulled the resentful souls into the body of the spiritual plant. Lu is kind-hearted, and can't bear to see such an act of eating evil ghosts alive. He sighed and came to the spiritual plant area in the underworld. The flesh spirit god sensed his breath, and jumped in front of Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan pulled its round head, and took out a large amount of flesh and blood from the storage bag, which was not sure whether it was from a demon beast or a cultivator, and threw it to Big Meatball. The blood-colored fur covering the surface of the meatball opened, revealing a tight little mouth inside, and sucked fiercely. The flesh and blood still in the air, turned directly into a puff of blood mist, pouring into the body of the meat spirit god like a sharp arrow. The speed of absorbing flesh and blood seems to be a little faster than before, and it is almost as strong as a cultivator in the early stage of foundation building. The strength is indeed increasing very fast, but I have to find an opportunity to go out and fight to verify the real combat power of Big Meatball. Lu Xuan came to the front of many underworld spiritual plants, took out the souls, flesh, and blood, bones and other nutrients, and cultivated them one by one. Not far away, there was a sound of fierce fighting. Lu Xuan looked in the direction of the sound, and saw that the evil tree demon, which was still a sapling, was fighting fiercely with the demon ghost vine. The old woman on the trunk of the evil tree demon had twisted features, and seemed extremely angry. A large number of black branches flew out like random gunshots, stabbing the demon vines in front of her frantically. The main vine of the demon vine lazily lay on the ground, only stretching out a branch, blocking, slapping, flicking, or rolling, and lightly repelling all the tree demon branches. Like the evil tree demon, it is a spiritual plant, but it has the characteristics of a demon beast, and is extremely aggressive. But after all, it has been cultivated and raised by Lu Xuan for many years, and the two are of the same grade, so its strength naturally crushes the little evil tree demon that has not grown for a long time. Boring. It's really boring. I thought you had grown a lot after coming to the cave, but I didn't expect you to be so weak. Wait until you grow a little more before challenging me. I'm the strongest spiritual plant in the cave. Lu Xuan sensed similar thoughts from the demon vine, and couldn't help laughing. The demon vine retracted its tentacles, and with a sizzling sound, it left a pool of grey mucus on the old woman's face and left proudly. The old woman on the tree trunk seemed to be greatly insulted, and became even more angry, letting the grey mucus flow down. These two spiritual plants are still doing this kind of drama. Lu Xuan couldn't help laughing, looking at the mucus that marked the demon ghost vine, and suddenly had a bad idea. Face, shoot, mucus. This scene seemed to have been seen somewhere. He shook his head, cast a purification spell on himself, and continued to cultivate the underworld spiritual plants. After a series of harvests, the number of evil spiritual plants in the underworld spiritual field area has decreased a lot. Under his urging, the mother plant of the holy infant fruit gave birth to 2 new spiritual seeds of daughter plants, but after observing its state, Xuan felt that the mother plant's origin was a little less, and estimated that this behavior could not be repeated many times. In the spiritual field, there are quite a few spiritual plants of the 4th grade, and below that are about to mature, and several high-level spiritual plants are also in the maturity period. The 5th grade heart monkey fruit from the old white ape, the 5th grade vajra body, that has been nourished by the demon subduing peg for a long time, and the 5th grade yauquan flower in the underworld spiritual plants, and the highest grade 6th grade phoenix tree, that he had obtained for many years. Xuan was particularly looking forward to it. After all, several 6th grade treasures were produced in the light group of mature 5th grade spiritual plants. The phoenix tree was obtained by him in the early stage of foundation building. After years of cross-grade cultivation, it has its own grade of 6th grade, and it is very likely to produce a 7th grade treasure, which is the nascent soul level. No matter how hard you work, you will get more. Farming is so happy. He smiled and returned to the house to continue to comprehend the Xuanshan King Wei method, and used an fire to refine the Peacock King Sword and the Teo Chang Sack, 2 5th grade treasures. After his comprehension improved, although the speed of absorbing spiritual power did not increase much, his perception of various exercises reached a new stage, which can be regarded as an indirect improvement of the progress of cultivation. In a blink of an eye, a month passed. During this period, the last leaf of the King Jingliuli tea was fully mature. Xuan got another drop of 6th grade King Sui from the light group. However, he had already promoted to the Danji stage, so it was not very useful for him now. The refining of the Peacock King Sword went smoothly, the blade could change size freely, and entered the golden elixir, allowing the elixir fire to slowly refine it. The comprehension of the Xuanshan King Mio Mi Fa also progressed rapidly, and he had already started practicing. This kind of comprehension was completely unimaginable for him before. Chapter 636. Cultivation is not easy. Do some business. The strongest stage of the effect of the pure glazed tea has passed. Now it has entered a period of slow decline. It may take a long time for the improvement effect to weaken. Therefore, there is no need to waste any time like before. It's time to go out. Xuan stood up and said in a low voice, "There are still a few things that need to be solved urgently. The 2 6th grade spiritual species, Yuan Sealing Mu and Jiarubeoshu, have not yet started to be cultivated due to the lack of necessary conditions. They must be solved as soon as possible." The news of Yuan Sealing Shanaling Min was heard from Mudoran before. Xuan plans to go to Zixing Tower and ask about the specific location. If he gets it, he will decide whether to buy it directly, hire it, or go there himself according to the situation. As for Jiarubeoshu, see if he can find a Confucian monk from the 18 secret realms of Shiangxing Cave and hire him to help cultivate it. In addition, Xuan also has the idea of renting or buying a small shop. The shop is used to sell some spiritual plants and treasures of the 4th grade and below. It's really that he has accumulated too many spiritual plants and treasures. There are at least 70 or 80 3rd grade sword cultivating goods alone, and there will be dozens more in a while. As for the soul enriching pills, water moving beads, and water dragon talismans that are found in the light group of water fireflies, there are even more. He is now in the Jindan realm and has no use for those things at all, but if he keeps them, it would be a waste, so it is better to sell them in exchange for some spirit stones. Accumulated, it is also a large amount of spirit stones. If he frequently sets up a stall to sell them, it will definitely affect his farming and cultivation. Xuan has also considered selling them to the Heilao Chamber of Commerce and other shops, but there is still a huge difference between the purchase price and the selling price. He can't use his guest status to abuse his power for personal gain and raise the price to seek greater benefits. It is better to sell them himself. Buy or rent a small shop in the Zixing Tower, hire a reliable cultivator, come out regularly to provide treasures, and collect spirit stones. If you open a shop in the Zixing Tower, you don't have to worry about safety. This is the 2nd largest force in the Liang realm. Even a Yuanying cultivator dare not cause trouble in it. With this in mind, he packed up a little, told the grass puppet to take good care of the spiritual field, activated the 2 5th grade formations, and came to the Zigzing Tower. As soon as he entered the Halao Chamber of Commerce, the charming female owner of the building came out to greet him. Senior Lu, congratulations on your promotion to the giant stage. The female cultivator bent down and saluted respectfully. Her curves were well proportioned. Hello, fellow Taoist. Senior Lu. Senior Lu. Clear and pleasant voices rang out one after another. Along the way, many maids and guards in the branch building greeted him, attracting many cultivators in the hall to cast curious glances. Lu Xuan came to the room where Mu Dao Ren was. Senior Lu, why are you here? The tall old man with red eyes saw Lu Xuan and quickly stood up, followed by the strange-shaped treasure tower behind him. It's a bit stuffy staying in the cave all the time. Come out to get some fresh air. In addition, I came here to ask for help from fellow Taoist Mu for a few things. Lu Xuan said with a smile. Please speak, Senior Lu. I will tell you everything I know and do my best. The old man quickly expressed his opinion. First of all, I remember talking to you before about the news of Yuan Xilingshan or Lingzhen mine. I wonder if you have any clues now? I asked the elders in the clan. It is said that a Yuan Xilingshan appeared on Yuan Feng Island overseas, but it has been many years. I don't know if it is still there. Yuan Feng Island? Lu Xuan asked doubtfully. The northern part of Zhangzhou is a boundless ocean with many islands and numerous secret realms. However, it also hides many dangerous sea beasts, evil spirits, and some monks who have escaped. Yuan Feng Island is one of the big islands. An elder of the clan broke into the island more than 200 years ago and saw a Yuan Xilingshan. However, the mountain was too large and he did not have the relevant magical powers to absorb it, so he had to leave with regret. Lu Xuan nodded. Thank you, brother Daoist Mu. I will learn more about it and then make a decision. The second thing is that I accidentally got a Confucian and Taoist treasure, but unfortunately I can't get a glimpse of the secrets in it, so I want to find a monk who is proficient in Confucianism and Taoism in the Zigzing Tower or the 18-star cave to help crack it. Brother Daoist Mu has been in the Zigzing Tower for many years, and his network of contacts is much wider than mine. Have you heard of any Confucian cultivators? They can be in the early or middle stages of foundation building or high-level key training. He asked the old man gently. Confucian and Taoist monks. It's easy to find people who meet the requirements in Daxia realm, but it's rare in Xiangxing cave. I have to ask my friends. The tall old man pondered for a while and said slowly. As for the last thing, I want to ask you, Brother Mu, how to buy or enter shop in Zigzing Tower. The location and size are not limited. A shop. When Mu Doran heard this, he was stunned and puzzled. Yes, Brother Mu, you know my origins. At that time, my family fell into ruin and disbanded. I got a lot of treasures from the clan's treasure house and kept them in my storage bag. I wanted to keep them as a souvenir. But after breaking through the giant stage, the spirit stones on my body have been used up, and it's difficult to maintain basic practice, so I want to find a shop to sell some treasures in exchange for spirit stones, to ensure the basic needs of practice. Lu Xuan pulled out a suitable reason from the family background he had woven before. At the beginning, when he came to the branch building of Halao Chamber of Commerce, to sell King Li Jade Lock, he made up such a background, and now he uses it. Moreover, if a large number of treasures appear in the store in the future, he can use this reason to perfunctorily avoid suspicion that the treasures are not legitimate. Spiritual plants are not included in this scope, but once the number of other 3rd and 4th grade treasures reaches a terrifying level, there will definitely be people who are suspicious. In order to avoid trouble, Lu Xuan found a very suitable excuse for himself. As for 5th and even 6th grade treasures, he currently has no plan to sell them in the store, but to find other channels to exchange spiritual seeds, spirit beast eggs, necessary materials and other things. There is no other way. It's not easy to practice. Do a small business and earn some spiritual stones. He saw the realization in the old man's eyes and said with a wry smile. Indeed, the senior is still a casual cultivator now. The resources required for Dan formation are astronomical. Any profit counts. Mu Doran nodded in agreement. He had no worries that the shop opened by Lu Xuan would take away the business of Halao Chamber of Commerce. After all, he was just a spiritual plant master who came from a casual cultivation background. Even if he had the cultivation level of Giandan, the number of treasures he could bring out was limited. He did not pose any threat to the Halao Chamber of Commerce, which had business in all realms of the universe. I will help you, Senior Lu, to find out. The cultivation situation has not been very good recently, so it should be no problem to find a small shop. The old man promised Lu Xuan in a firm tone. Chapter 637. There is a grocery store. Don't worry, take your time, Lu Xuan said gently. In addition, we need to hire a cultivator as the temporary owner of the store, who will be responsible for the sale of various treasures in the store. After all, I usually spend most of my time cultivating spiritual plants and practicing, and I don't have the extra energy to run the store. Does Daoist Mu have any good suggestions? Hiring a cultivator as a store owner requires a lot of requirements. The other party must be honest and reliable, smart, good at observing words and expressions, and proficient in understanding various knowledge such as magic tools, talismans, and elixirs. As far as I know, there are generally two ways. One is to find it from a pawn shop. That kind of business generally has a good reputation, saves time and effort, but the price is a little expensive. The other way is to go to the scattered cultivator market to select it yourself. This is relatively cheaper, but the cultivators you find may not be reliable. By the way, there is another way. I wonder if Senior Lu accepts it. The tall old man suddenly remembered something and said excitedly, Senior, you can try to borrow a cultivator from the Chamber of Commerce and pay him monthly. Those who come out of the Chamber of Commerce usually have undergone years of training, have clean backgrounds, are good at guessing people's minds, have broad knowledge, and are trustworthy. If you are worried that he might take away the treasures and spiritual stones of the store, you can buy some array talismans that can monitor every corner of the store, or track strange insects and spells, or you can sign a contract with the other party to restrict his behavior. The tall old man talked freely, and every suggestion was of great use to Lu Xuan. Okay, then borrow a manager from the Chamber of Commerce to be my store owner. Gender is not limited, and the cultivation level is preferably in the high-level key training to the early stage of foundation building. Hearing this, Lu Xuan felt that this method was more feasible. The Halao Chamber of Commerce is the largest merchant in Liang territory. The quality of the cultivators trained by them is definitely much higher than that of the Yahang. In addition, he himself is a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, and they have a lot of ties with each other, so it can be said to be the best choice. Then I'll trouble you, Daoist Mu, to help me find a shop and a suitable monk. He clasped his fists and said to the tall old man, It's Milner. Daoist Mu returned the greeting and left the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce in a hurry. Lu Xuan went to the upper floor of the branch building to deal with some tedious matters. The Chamber of Commerce headquarters had sent some strange spiritual plants from all directions. As they were not sure about their origins and uses, they were handed over to him, who was a guest and proficient in spiritual plants, to identify them. Lu Xuan had that special ability, so he could easily identify the varieties and uses of those spiritual plants. In order to avoid being too much in the spotlight, he only vaguely mentioned some places, and did not reveal all the information he knew about the spiritual plants. However, the only part that was revealed was enough to make the Chamber of Commerce's top leaders very satisfied, and their evaluation of Lu Xuan rose. Senior Lu, I found a shop. Do you want to go and take a look together? On this day, Daoist Mu found Lu Xuan, and said to him with a somewhat excited look. Lu Xuan nodded, and came with him to the shop. The shop was located in the middle and lower part of the Zixing building. Each floor of the Zixing building was extremely large. The tall old man took Lu Xuan to the end of a street. It's there. The owner is planning to transfer the shop due to family changes. Lu Xuan looked around and saw that there were many cultivators coming and going, mainly practicing key, and a small number of foundation building cultivators. There were several small shops nearby, selling different cultivation resources, some specializing in talismans, and some only selling array formations. The location is not bad. He followed the Daoist Mu into the shop. The space inside was not very large, with several antique wooden shelves, and there was nothing on the wooden shelves. There was a small door behind it, and behind the door was a small house, which could be used for daily rest, or to place some treasures for sale. Overall, it feels good. I wonder how much the rent is. 15,000 low-grade spirit stones per month. If you buy it, it will cost at least hundreds of millions of low-grade spirit stones. The old man replied. TSK. Lu Xuan sighed in his heart, feeling the high rent. 15,000 low-grade spirit stones could almost buy 2 4th-grade magic tools, but here he could only rent such a small shop for a month. But it was understandable. After all, this was Zixing Tower, a place where every inch of land was worth a lot of money, and there were countless cultivators. As long as the business was above the passing level, it would be a sure win. The branch building of Halao Chamber of Commerce is dozens of times larger than this one, and the rent is estimated to be an astronomical figure. He once again learned about the wealth of the Chamber of Commerce. If he bought this shop, he didn't have enough spirit stones, so he had to rent it for the time being. Seeing that Lu Xuan agreed to rent the shop, Mu Dao Ren called the owner of the shop and signed a 3-year lease with Lu Xuan, paying the rent every 3 months. Just call your grocery store. He looked at the blank plaque on the gate and whispered, "Congratulations to Senior Lu for getting the shop he wanted. I wish you a prosperous business and a lot of money." Mu Dao Ren smiled and congratulated. "Thank you, fellow Daoist. Please also help me find a trustworthy and reliable monk from the Chamber of Commerce to take charge of the store for me." Okay, I'll leave everything to you." Taoist Mu patted his chest and said. He was very efficient. In less than half a day, he brought over a young man with a calm and honest face. "Senior Lu, this is Wen Qian, a collateral family member of the owner of the branch building, who has perfected his key training and failed to break through the foundation building 3 times, so he entered the Chamber of Commerce to help manage the business. Wen Qian, this is Senior Lu, also a guest of our Chamber of Commerce. Do your best for you, and don't let you down." "Hello, Senior Lu." Wen Qian greeted him excitedly, bowed his hands, and kept his head down. "Yes, fellow Daoist Mu helped me find it. I trust it. I'll trouble you in the future," Lu Xuan said with a gentle smile. "It's my honor to serve you, Senior." Wen Qian replied immediately. "I won't stay in the store on weekdays. You will handle all the affairs. If there is an emergency, you can contact me, or go directly to Mu Dao Ren. I will come here regularly to provide various goods, and take away the spirit stones. Let me be frank. If you want to gain my trust, you must sign a contract. Are you willing?" "I have no objection." The two signed a relevant contract. If Wen Qian violated the terms of the contract and harmed the interests of Lu Xuan and the store, his body and mind would be greatly tortured, which would be more painful than death. "How much does the Chamber of Commerce usually pay you?" 1,800 low-grade spirit stones per month. "After you come to me, there should be more things to do. How about this? I will give you 3,000 low-grade spirit stones per month. What do you think?" Lu Xuan directly raised the remuneration by a large amount. "Thank you, Senior." Wen Qian thanked from the bottom of his heart. When he learned that he was going to be the owner of a small store, he was a little reluctant. After all, he had laid a foundation in the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce, and the spirit stones he earned every month were still surplus. If he accumulated for a period of time, he could buy spiritual medicine to make up for his foundation and try to advance to the foundation building again. But due to Lu Xuan's guest status, he had to follow Mu Dao Ren. After hearing the reward offered by Lu Xuan, the slight displeasure in his heart disappeared immediately, and he instantly became loyal. Chapter 638 Treasure Shop. You come and put these treasures into categories and set a price for them based on quality and market price. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me. Lu Xuan flicked his hand with one hand, and a large number of treasures appeared in the store, radiant with light and full of spirit. The first grade Puan pill, the second grade soul condensation pill, the third grade foundation establishment pill, and the fourth grade dust cleansing pill. Wen Qian looked at the several pills that Lu Xuan took out one by one, and his expression became more and more serious surprise. 200 bottles of first grade Yuan Pui Yuandan, and 100 bottles each of second grade Yunling pill and beast spirit pill were all necessities for the key training stage, and they were common pills in every store. but 33rd grade foundation building pills are already close to half of the inventory in the Halao Chamber of Commerce branch. You know, that is the largest shop in the Star Building, with strong financial resources. If it is placed in other small shops, one foundation building pill kitten is hard to find. Could it be that the Dan building guest in front of me is still an alchemy master? However, this is probably all he has in stock. There is also the Chamber of Commerce headquarters behind the branch building, and you can get the foundation building pills at any time. He muttered secretly in his heart. Road. Senior, so many foundation building pills can be used as the treasure of our store. And these 24th grade dust cleansing pills, well, they can also be used as the treasure of the store. He was quite due to his duties. He quickly stepped into the role of agent store owner. Seeing him like this, Xuan felt satisfied. With his key training stage, he could instantly identify the 4th grade dust cleansing pill, and his related qualities were indeed good. Senior, these goods are the sword raising goods recorded in the classics? He asked Xuan, looking at the dozens of green and mottled goods floating in the air that were auring with sword energy. That's right, it contains powerful sword energy and is extremely powerful in attack. It is not inferior to many 3rd grade magic weapons. It was cultivated by me personally. When it is sold, the price can also be adjusted according to the quality of the good. Xuan took out 30 sword raising goods at once, occupying a small half area of one of the wooden frames. Another 3rd grade rare treasure. When Xuan sighed in his heart, he continued to look. 23rd grade explosive flame beads. His eyes swept across the surface of each red stone bead. There seemed to be fiery red magma rolling inside the stone bead. When activated, it could instantly erupt into a large-scale fire attack. 23rd grade water beads. 53rd grade water dragon talismans. When did 3rd grade talismans become so worthless? More and more 3rd grade treasures gradually made when Xuan, who had only perfected his key training, become numb. Among all the treasures that Xuan took out, the lowest one was the 1st grade Yuan pill. There was only one kind, and there were only a few 2nd grade ones. Most of them were 3rd grade ones, which were extremely popular among the monks in the early and middle stages of foundation building. There are so many 3rd grade talismans and magic weapons, each of which has the potential to be a treasure for the store. Senior, do you want to take the high quality route for foundation building monks? Well, you can develop in that route. Xuan King nodding lightly. He had no choice. These were already the lowest grade treasures left in his hands. Which one should I use as the treasure of my store? The priceless and unmarketable 3rd grade foundation building pill? Or the 4th grade dust cleansing pill that can get rid of evil spirits? Or the extremely high quality, extremely powerful sword raising good? He couldn't make a decision in his heart, so he asked Xuan. No, use this as a treasure to protect the store. A smile appeared on Xuan's lips, and 10 4th grade sword talismans appeared in front of Xuan. Inside the talisman, the sword energy may be like the boundless waves surging, or like the thousands of rays of light from the scorching sun, or like the shooting stars streaking across the sky. 4th grade sword talisman. Xuan's numb expression showed surprise again. Sword talismans are the most difficult to refine among all talismans, and they are also the most lethal type. Each one is extremely rare. Xuan went to take out 10 of them. That's right, you can release one every once in a while, to attract monks to buy it. Xuan smiled. Among all the treasures he took out, due to the harvest of a large amount of firefly grass and water firefly light clusters, there were also corresponding treasures. The elixirs have the level of alchemy at the master level. The number of Yuan Dan and Yunling Dan is the largest, and they are counted in bottles. The reason why he uses the 4th grade sword talisman as the treasure of the store is mainly because the number of sword talismans accumulated on his body is increasing. After being promoted to the pill formation, the effect of the sword talisman is weakened, and he has planted a large number of sword goods, so there is no need to worry about the sword talisman. Not enough. In the future, you can take out some rare 4th grade treasures from time to hang up the monks who enter the store. He suddenly realized that those 3rd grade treasures that he regarded as useless were, in the eyes of others, rare opportunities. I don't know how blessed I am when I'm in the midst of blessings. My vision has been completely absorbed by the treasures in the light ball. He couldn't help but sigh. When Kyan arranged all the treasures in an orderly manner, Lu Xuan stepped forward. "Thank you for your hard work. From now on, I will leave this grocery store to you to take care of. I will come over regularly to check on it. Also, if you have free time, you can learn about spiritual plants. Maybe it can be used in the future." He suggested aloud that when the store became famous and could even use 5th grade treasures as the store's treasure, he planned to collect some rare spiritual seeds through the store. "Thank you, Senior, for reminding me. I will keep this in mind, Junior." Although when Kyan looked simple and honest, he had a delicate heart. He knew that Lu Xuan was not without purpose, so he kept his advice in mind. Lu Xuan nodded with satisfaction, gave a few instructions, and left. "Is there a grocery store?" The name of this store is too casual. On the street, a young man with an advanced level of key training scanned the store plaque, murmured softly, and with some curiosity in his heart, he walked into the store. An inconspicuous little shop. "Welcome, distinguished guests." As soon as he entered the door, a simple-looking key perfection monk came out and greeted him warmly. "I wonder what you need. Our store has all kinds of rare elixirs, talismans, and magic weapons. You can choose from them at will. Let me take a look first." The high-level key practitioner young man said casually, looking at Pei, who was nearest to him. "Yuan Dan and Yunling Dan. If the price is right for the 2nd grade spirit absorbing pill, I can replenish it." He thought to himself, turned his eyes away, and his pupils suddenly dilated. "This is the Foundation Establishment pill? In the Halao Chamber of Commerce, there are all prices but no market. How could it appear in such a small shop? There are 30 pills. Could it be a fake?" The young man concentrated attentively. If you look closely, you can see that spiritual patterns are swimming on the surface of the elixir. Even through multiple obstacles, you can feel the rich spiritual energy on it. It's true. Judging from the appearance, it seems to be of slightly higher quality than what I've seen before. The young man's eyes became more intense. "What kind of elixir is this? It seems to be more precious than the Foundation Establishment pill." He looked at the elixir with more exquisite packaging and a clear surface next to the Foundation Establishment pill, full of curiosity. 3rd grade explosive flame beads, 3rd grade talismans. There are so many 3rd grade treasures. This good is so weird. It seems to contain a lot of sword energy. The aura is at the foundation building level, which is strange. There is also the rumored 4th grade treasure. Sword talisman? Inside the wooden frame, in a forbidden area, a talisman shaped like the tip of a sword lies quietly. There are heavy waves surging on the surface of the talisman, and the infinite sword intent contained in it can be felt from a distance. This small shop actually has so many rare treasures. What kind of treasure shop is this? Chapter 639. Growing Fame. Fellow Taoist, how can I sell this Foundation Establishment pill? The young man gathered his thoughts, weighed it again and again, and decided to buy a Foundation Establishment pill first. After all, this pill is not common in the Star-Reaching Tower. 3,588 low-grade spiritual stones each. When Kyan stood aside and said with a smile, "It's too expensive." The young man frowned slightly, and his eyes fell on a sword gourd. "What is the origin of this green gourd? What is its price?" The gourd is called the sword-raising gourd. It is a 3rd grade treasure. It contains a large amount of sharp sword energy. It can be used to kill enemies and demons. Its attack power is not weaker than most. A 3rd grade magic weapon becomes a mortal object after the sword energy is released, when Kyan introduced in detail without any concealment. As for the price, each good is worth 1,998 low-grade spirit stones. He originally planned to price it at 2,000 spirit stones, but after Lu Xuan's suggestion, he finally lowered the price by 2 spirit stones. 2,000 still sounds a bit different. Sure enough, when the young man heard this, a look of emotion appeared on his face. The strange gourd that can release sword energy costs less than 2,000 spirit stones. The balance in his heart gradually tilted towards the sword-raising gourd. The Foundation Establishment pill and the sword-raising gourd are both of the 3rd grade. The former is among the most expensive elixirs of the same grade. It is priceless, but has no market. Although the latter is not weaker than the 3rd grade magic weapon, it is not real after all. The price is higher than the magic weapon. It's still a lot lower. Then I'll choose a sword-raising gourd. The young man hesitated for a while, then gritted his teeth and said, although foundation building pills are rare, he is still a high-level key practitioner, and there is still a long way to go before he can break through foundation building. The 3rd grade sword raising good is of high quality and low price. After obtaining it, you can improve your strength a lot. Of course, the most important thing is that he does not have more than 3,000 spiritual stones in his hand. Use this sword raising good to kill a few more monsters in the secret realm, and then buy the foundation establishment pill or other treasures when you come back. He said silently in his heart. Good business. When Xuan watched the young man go away and carefully put the spirit stone away, the reputation of a grocery store spread faster than he expected. It didn't take long for many monks in the Star Building to know that somewhere in the corner of the middle and lower floors, there was a store with a weird name. The variety and quantity of goods in the store there are not many, but almost every kind is a high quality product, and there are many rare treasures such as 4th grade sword talismans. Among all the goods, except for the beast spirit pill, several other kinds of pills were extremely popular, and they were quickly cleared out, especially the foundation establishment pill. Many key consummation practitioners were trying to sell it, just to buy one. Every few days, the store will release a 4th grade treasure, or one of several types of sword talismans, or rare elixirs such as Earth Fire Heart Lotus Seeds and Earth Emperor Dates, or magical artifacts such as the Fengyu Jade Seal. Each one is favored by the monks. Slowly, this rule was figured out by the monks, who often came to the shop, and it even gradually formed a strange phenomenon. On the day when rare treasures such as sword talismans or Earth Fire Heart Lotus Seeds were released, many foundation building monks came early. Lines outside the store. There are so many foundation building monks waiting outside. It seems that a 4th grade sword talisman will be released from a grocery store today. In the early morning, the door of a shop next door opened, and a thin old man walked out and looked at the monks lined up quietly at the door of the grocery store, their eyes full of envy. My little brat must learn to draw sword talismans, he said fiercely in his heart. The old man opened a small shop that made and sold talismans, but there were some common 1st and 2nd grade talismans in it. There were only a few 3rd grade talismans. There was no need to think about 4th grade talismans, especially 4th grade sword talismans. However, although he was jealous of the grocery store business, he had no idea in his heart. As early as when the store was taken down, he learned that the actual owner of the store was a Master Jiden. Creak sound. When Xuan opened the door of the shop and saw a group of monks outside who were already not surprised and greeted them warmly. Good morning fellow Taoists. Friends Wendao. Fellow Taoist, when will a sword talisman be released today? What kind of sword talisman will it be? As soon as when Xuan showed up, he was asked one after another by the monks present. That's right, the Great Sun Sword Talisman is for sale today. It's still at the old price, 8,888 low-grade spiritual stones. Although the sword talisman is extremely popular among monks, Xuan and Wen Xuan did not increase the price. Always stick to the original price. A group of monks filed in, and their eyes fell on a talisman with a scorching sun hanging high in the middle and a sword like silk. Fellow Daoist literary, I made an appointment with you a few days ago. How about selling me this Great Sun Sword Talisman? I'm willing to add 500 spiritual stones. A tall middle-aged man in the middle stage of foundation building said hastily. Who here doesn't have an appointment? I've asked fellow Taoist Wen several times. Someone behind him said this as feebly. Fellow literary Daoist, I'm the first one to the store today. According to the past rules, this Great Sun Sword Talisman should belong to me, right? An old man in the late stage of foundation building said slowly. That's natural. I will abide by the rules set by my boss. When Xuan calmly took out the Great Sun Sword Talisman and handed it to the old man, disappointment appeared on the faces of the other monks, and they turned their attention to other treasures on the wooden shelves of the shop. Not only will rare 4th grade treasures appear regularly in the grocery store, but occasionally some good 3rd grade and 4th grade magic weapons, spiritual minerals, elixirs, etc. will appear. After a while, several monks left with satisfaction, leaving behind a large amount of spiritual stones. Fellow Daoist literary, I came all the way to the Starzane Tower, just for those 4th grade sword talismans. I wonder if it would be convenient for me to sell another one. I can add some spiritual stones. A monk in the middle stage of foundation building came over, stared at Xuan and asked, I'm really sorry. The number of sword talismans is limited. Today's ones have been sold. You can come here earlier next time. Xuan apologized on his face and said to the monk with his hands raised, I'm from the Xinjiang family. I just want to get a sword talisman. My Taoist friend won't give me any face. The monk took a few steps forward, with spiritual energy surging around his body. He was directly overpowering others with a bit of persecution in his tone. Threat. It turns out it's fellow Taoist Wang of the Wang family. I'm rude and rude. Xuan said, neither humble nor overbearing. Although his cultivation level was a big level lower than that of the monks, his expression was extremely calm. Even the Yuanying monks did not dare to cause trouble in the star-reaching tower. But what happened? Just a foundation building monk. As for his background, behind him is the Wen family, one of the major families of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. How can he be afraid of a small local family? I just manage a grocery store on my behalf. If you have any needs, Dao Wang, you can ask the real owner behind the grocery store. I can remind you, the master behind the grocery store is a Jidan master, who also serves as the position of guest minister of the Heilao Merchant Association, should be taken care of by Taoist friends. When the monk heard this, the expression on his face kept changing. He shook his sleeves vigorously and left a harsh word. I'll come back next time. Fellow Taoist, walk slowly. Xuan shouted as he went out. Business in the grocery store was booming, and Lu Xuan also found news about the Confucian cultivator. Mutorin had a wide network of contacts and helped him find out where 2 Confucian cultivators practiced in Xiangxing Cave. Mycoplasma pneumonia, just one chapter today. I caught a cold a few days ago and took several cold medicines, but I still kept coughing. I even had a cough that kept me awake until about 4 in the morning yesterday. It felt better after I changed the medicine today. The temperature changes too much. Please pay attention to your health. Chapter 640, Confucian Cultivation. Senior Lu, we have found the Confucian cultivator you need. As soon as Lu Xuan entered the Heilao Chamber of Commerce branch, Taoist Mu came out with an eager smile. Thank you for your hard work, Taoist Mu. Lu Xuan said lightly. Liang realm is too far away from Daxia realm. It took a lot of effort to find 2 people. One is in the middle stage of foundation building, and the other is a little worse, but has completed key training. Okay, Taoist Mu, please take me to see the Confucian cultivator who has established foundation first. Lu Xuan first considered those with high cultivation. After all, the 9 Confucian treasure tree is a 6th grade spiritual plant. Confucian cultivators with higher cultivation are likely to be more proficient in poetry and articles. Senior Lu, please come this way. The tall old man led the way and led Lu Xuan to a street in the lower part of Zixing building. On both sides of the street, there were houses lined up one after another, and the density was much greater than that of the branch. That Confucian cultivator usually lives in one of the 18-star caves of Xiangxing Cave. He lives in seclusion and keeps a low profile. He accidentally leaked Confucian and Taoist magic and became known to others. I specially invited him to the Zixing Tower to wait for the senior's orders. Taoist Mu said in a low voice. In order to save Lu Xuan's time, he tried every means to invite the foundation building Confucian cultivator. Lu Xuan nodded slightly and followed the old man into a small courtyard with simple restrictions. As soon as he entered the small courtyard, a cultivator with a relatively ordinary figure and appearance came out, looking at Lu Xuan with a bit of vigilance in his eyes. Fellow Daoist Zhang, this is Senior Lu Xuan Lu. Senior, this is fellow Daoist Zhang Yingqi. Hello, Senior Lu. Hearing what the old man said, the Confucian cultivator hurriedly bowed and greeted. Lu Xuan's eyes swept over. He practiced the breaking delusion pupil technique and saw at a glance that the Confucian cultivator's appearance was disguised by a secret method. Fellow Daoist Zhang, please don't be polite. Don't worry, I'm looking for you for good things. I won't embarrass you or cause you trouble, he said gently. Zhang Yingqi finally let go of his worries after hearing this. He lived in seclusion in Xiangxing Cave, thinking that no one would discover his identity, but suddenly a cultivator came to invite him to Zixing Tower. He had many secrets, but he could not find a chance to escape, so he had to come here with the cultivators of Halao Chamber of Commerce. After a few days of wild thoughts and anxiety, the giant Zenran who was looking for him behind his back finally showed up. Before talking about things, I have a few questions to ask you, Taoist Zhang. Please answer them truthfully, Lu Xuan said solemnly. Junior will be frank, and will not hide anything. Zhang Yingqi replied immediately. How long has it been since you came to Yangjing? About 5 years. How is your Confucianism and Taoism? Not bad. I studied in Lushan Academy for more than 20 years. After coming to Xiangxing Cave, I have been practicing diligently. Why did you travel thousands of miles to give up the cultivation environment suitable for Confucianism in Daxia realm and come to Xiangxing Cave? Lu Xuan stared at Zhang Yingqi with a sharp gaze, as if he could see through any of his thoughts. Zhang Yingqi hesitated for a moment, then slowly said, reporting to the senior, when I was in Daxia, I was a member of a small family. The family mastered a method of cultivating Confucian and Taoist magical powers. It was accidentally discovered by someone, which brought disaster. In the end, the family was swallowed up by a powerful family in Daxia, and all the rebels in the family were killed. I just had something to do outside, and escaped by luck. When he said the last part, Zhang Yingqi didn't know what he remembered, gnashing his teeth, with a strong hatred in the corners of his eyes. Is that family powerful? Lu Xuan asked curiously. Not weaker than some sects in Liang. Zhang Yingqi replied word by word. Thank you, Taoist Zhang, for clearing up my doubts. I will think about it and give you an answer after a while, Lu Xuan said, and left with Taoist Mu. Daoist Mu, take me to see the Confucian cultivator who has perfected key training. Lu Xuan looked normal and said in a deep voice. Okay, Senior Lu. The tall old man walked in front, leading the way, while introducing another Confucian cultivator to Lu Xuan. This Confucian cultivator who has perfected his key training is called Han King He. He cannot afford the expensive rent of Xiangxing Cave, so he lives in a small market near Zixing Tower. I also invited him here. Soon, the two came to the outside of a tavern. Taoist Mu activated a communication talisman, and after a few breaths, a young man came out of the tavern. Hello, seniors. Senior Lu, this is brother Han King He, who has perfected his key training, and is only one step away from building a foundation. The old man pointed at the young man, and introduced him to Lu Xuan. The young man was of medium build, with clear black and white pupils, and looked very smart. He was dressed in a green shirt, exuding a bookish aura. Friend Hong, this is Senior Lu Xuan. I have something to ask you. If you meet the requirements, it may be a great opportunity for you. The young man's face became more respectful when he heard this. Young friend Hong, do you mind answering a few questions for me? Lu Xuan's gentle tone made the young man's nervousness disappear a lot. I will tell you everything I know. Okay. Lu Xuan nodded. I wonder what your background is, how long you have been in Xiangxing Cave, and why you came. I was born in an ordinary family. My father was a young scholar with shallow cultivation. My parents died early. I have some talent in Confucianism, and entered the Daxia Academy to study. It has been less than 3 years since I came to Xiangxing Cave in Liang realm. The reason I left Daxia realm is because I once offended the son of a great Confucian in the academy and was suppressed by him everywhere. I couldn't bear the humiliation and had to leave my hometown and come to Xiangxing Cave. Lu Xuan nodded gently. The two Confucian cultivators he found both had stories, and he couldn't make a decision for a while. Zhang Yingqi's Confucian and Taoist cultivation is obviously much higher. It stands to reason that he is more suitable for cultivating the 9 Confucian treasure tree. However, it can be seen that he is very concerned about the great hatred on his body. Once he has the opportunity, he will definitely return to Daxia realm for revenge, and may even attract the Confucian and Taoist family behind him. His stability is not strong. As for Han King He, his cultivation is not at the foundation building stage. However, judging from his study experience, his talent should not be inferior to Zhang Yingqi. He came to Liang realm on his own initiative, and has relatively little involvement with the forces in Daxia realm. It seems that he intends to settle down in Xiangxing Cave. Thinking of this, Lu Xuan's heart tilted. Little friend Hong, if you are successful in your cultivation, will you go back to seek revenge on the son of the Great Confucian? I definitely want to, but the chance is too slim. After all, the man is backed by a Great Confucian, so the desire for revenge is not strong. Han Qinghe said very freely, and it seems that he did not take his enemy too seriously. Then are you willing to follow me and complete a task for me? If you can satisfy me, I will definitely help you break through the foundation building realm without saying anything else. Lu Xuan said with a smile. He still had this confidence. He didn't have much else on him. The foundation building pills could be eaten by Han Qinghe like candy beans, and he could pile them up to the foundation building realm. Junior is very happy. With a snap, Han Qinghe knelt on one knee and said ecstatically, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 641, 100-year-old Yuan Hua Tei in wooden box. This foundation establishment pill will be used as a meeting gift for you. I will give you some spiritual stones as a reward regularly in the future. If things are done well, you may be rewarded with other treasures. What you need to find the 9 Confucian treasure tree after the toolman. Lu Xuan was in a good mood. After the two made an agreement, they directly took out a foundation building pill and rewarded it to Han Qinghe. Han Qinghe recited poems and articles, while he was mainly responsible for nurturing and promoting the spiritual plants to absorb literary energy. Although this might have some impact on the light group rewards, Lu Xuan didn't care about it anymore. He could cultivate the 6th grade 9 Confucian treasure trees. Maturity is excellent. Thank you, senior. I will do my best and live up to my trust. Han Qinghe took the foundation establishment pill with slightly trembling hands and promised Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan temporarily arranged him to live in a branch of the Halao Chamber of Commerce and went to a grocery store alone. Senior Lu. The moment when Khan saw him, the most sincere and enthusiastic smile appeared on his face. How's business? Lu Xuan scanned the wooden shelves in the house and found that there were not many treasures on them. Business is very good. The treasures brought out by the seniors are very popular among the monks. Some of them even attracted many foundation establishment monks to grab them. The foundation establishment pill sold the fastest, followed by the 4th grade dust cleansing pill, and there are still about half of the 2nd grade spirit containing pills and beast spirit pills left. The sword raising goods were quickly sold out due to their high quality and low price. As for the sword talismans, there are already many foundation building monks. Thanks to my connections, I want to obtain a 4th grade sword talisman privately. It's up to you, as long as the price remains the same, and it doesn't cause any trouble to me, Lu Xuan said casually. After thinking about it, he took out some foundation building pills, sword talismans and other treasures from the storage bag, and placed them on the wooden shelf. I want to take away most of the spiritual stones sold during this period, he said. Okay senior, here is the account book. When Khan quickly handed over the account book, Lu Xuan flipped through it casually and said to him, bring me 2,800 middle grade spiritual stones. When Khan nodded heavily and immediately he took out a pile of middle grade spiritual stones filled with spiritual energy from his storage bag. With a movement of his spiritual power, Lu Xuan swept many spiritual stones into the storage bag, feeling filled with emotion in his heart. The speed of opening a shop to earn spiritual stones is too fast. In about half a month, it brought him nearly 300,000 low-grade spiritual stones, which can be said to be worth 2 low-level magic weapons. The most important thing is that I didn't spend much money. The most expensive thing for spiritual stones is the monthly rent of the store, which is more than 10,000 yuan. It can be said to be a huge profit. Most of these treasures come from light group rewards. Only some of the elixirs were refined by himself, but the master level alchemy level also came from the elixir experience package in the light group. I wonder how many spiritual stones it takes to buy a secret realm. If you can continue to make money like this, maybe you can ask about the price. He had this idea in his mind. After being promoted to pill formation, he would have enough spiritual energy and strong soul support, and he was determined to expand production. Lingxi, but the spiritual field in Lei Xingxing cave was a bit stretched, so he had the idea of finding another secret place. Wait until you have accumulated enough spiritual stones, then go to the Chamber of Commerce and ask. He thought to himself, and his eyes fell on Wen Qian, who was bowing his head and saying nothing. You did a good job. Work hard. If you keep doing it, I will increase your pay. Lu Xuan took advantage of the situation and drew a big cake for Wen Qian, rolled up the spiritual stone and left. Amidst countless subtle thunders, Lu Xuan held the thunder fire token and protected Han Qinghe to the cave. Everything was as usual outside the cave. He activated the formation and entered the cave. Fat Bird and other spiritual beasts sensed his aura and came out to welcome him. Seeing Han Qinghe next to Lu Xuan, everyone looked curious. Han Qinghe sensed the powerful aura from Fat Bird and other spiritual beasts and remained motionless, letting Fat Bird, Lihuo Jiao, etc. circle around him. These other spiritual beasts I raised. They are not very aggressive. You can get along with them without worry. As for what I want you to do, it is very simple. Just read poems and articles every day in the place I have designated for you to live in. I have a spiritual plant with strange habits. It needs to grow in a cultural environment and listen to poetry and Confucian scriptures. You must meet all its requirements. Lu Xuan brought Han Qinghe to plant the 9 Confucian treasures, a spiritual field planted by tree spirits. Lingxi who loves to listen to books. It's indeed a bit weird. Han Qinghe thought to himself. You will live here from now on and try to go as little as possible to other restricted spiritual fields. Lu Xuan raised his hands, and the earth and rocks next to the spiritual field changed rapidly. A master level earth drawing technique was launched, and a stone house appeared instantly. In order to give the 9 Confucian treasure tree a better growing environment, he directly built Han Qinghe's residence near the spiritual field, so that the 9 Confucian treasure tree could always listen to Confucian scriptures and be nourished by the literary spirit. A few days later, he came to Lingshan and heard the sound of reading loudly in the distance. There seemed to be a weak but firm power in the voice. In the spiritual field, the black characters on the surface of the 9 Confucian treasure tree spirit seeds are constantly swimming, changing with the rhythm of the sound, revealing vitality. The smell of the ink on the black characters is stronger, and it seems that it has been fully moisturized during this time. Lu Xuan felt the changes in the spiritual plant and used the spirit rain technique and other techniques to let the spiritual plant better absorb the literary energy, and then left quietly. There is also a restriction formation in that area, which greatly restricts Han Qinghe's movements. He cannot step into other spiritual fields at all without Lu Xuan's consent. He kept patrolling the field of cave spirits. Suddenly, in a dark corner, he noticed a group of light flickering slightly on a tall black locust tree. This spiritual plant seems to be a locust tree planted many years ago. Why did a ball of light suddenly pop out? Lu Xuan looked a little stunned. This locust tree was planted when he first entered the Xianjian sect. The planting should be no less than 30 years. However, since the Yinsaphora japonica is a yearly spiritual plant with no maturity period, and the grade is only 2nd grade, Lu Xuan didn't pay much attention to it and allowed it to grow freely in the corner. He only took it when he moved from the sect. Bring it with you, since the gluttonous sack has enough space anyway. I remember that a few years after planting it, I harvested a ball of light from it, which seemed to be a reward for a yin soul bead. However, I never harvested it and almost ignored it. Lu Xuan thought in his mind, concentrating on it. On the locust tree that is already more than half a foot high. Yinsaphora japonica is a 2nd grade spiritual plant that has been growing for hundreds of years. It has strong yin energy and can nourish and heal yin souls. The process branches can be used as materials for practicing yin attributes. It's been 100 years. I remember that it was only planted for more than 30 years. It seems that the spiritual environment plus the spiritual rain technique, wood life technique and other magic techniques promote its rapid growth. Lu Xuan thought in his heart and touched it gently. Touch the light group on the surface of the tree trunk. The light group shattered into countless tiny points of light and quickly poured into Lu Xuan's body. 100 years of Yin Hui harvested the 5th grade treasure Tei in wooden box. I wish everyone a happy Lantern festival and family reunion. Chapter 642 I want to improve so much. The thought flashed through his mind, and a palm-sized exquisite wooden box appeared in Lu Xuan's palm. The wooden box was black in color, with countless strange and complex patterns on the surface, as if it was absorbing the soul of a person. Holding it in his hand, he felt a slight chill. Lu Xuan focused his mind on the surface of the wooden box and immediately learned detailed information about it. The Taiyan wooden box, a 5th grade treasure, contains a trace of Taiyan power, which can heal, nourish, and strengthen the soul. The soul can stay in it for a long time, and is not easy to dissipate. 5th grade treasure, I'm rich. Lu Xuan was pleasantly surprised. He had never thought that this 2nd grade Yanhui could produce a 5th grade treasure. Just plant it quietly, and all the generous rewards will come as expected. He thought secretly. Although this Taiyan wooden box is of little use to me, it is a very good treasure for some ghost cultivators or evil cultivators who raise ghosts. He carefully put the Taiyan wooden box into the gluttonous insect bag. Year-old spiritual plants, even if the grade is a little lower, but if the accumulated years are long, when they reach a certain point, the light ball rewards that appear are not weaker than many high-grade spiritual plants, and their value cannot be measured simply by the grade. Unfortunately, there are too few such spiritual plants in the cave. In addition to this Yanhui, there is only the 7th grade Yemikingliteng. Well, although the fairy peach can harvest spiritual fruits every few years, it is just a repetitive result. As the number of light balls collected increases and the realm of one's own cultivation increases, the light ball rewards will only gradually weaken. Maybe I can go to the Halao Chamber of Commerce to ask if there are any 100-year or 1000-year spiritual medicines. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. He continued to inspect the spiritual fields and came to the area where the fairy peaches were planted. So many spiritual peaches. After not coming for a while, the 3rd batch of fairy peaches have all matured. The tender pink, plump and juicy peaches are looming among the pink and white branches and leaves, half hidden and half covered. Against the backdrop of the pink miasma below, there is a different kind of temptation. Lu Xuan seemed to see balls of light flickering towards him, and his figure passed by like floating light. In an instant, a bunch of spiritual peaches floated in front of him. After picking the spiritual peach, white balls of light emerged, flickering slightly. After a light touch, all the balls of light shattered silently almost at the same time, and the sky full of light points passed through the branches and leaves of the peaches, converging into rivers of light, and poured into Lu Xuan's body one after another. Thoughts flashed through his mind like a horse-drawn show. Harvest a 3rd grade peach, and get the 4th grade elixir Miyudan. Harvest a 3rd grade peach, and get the 4th grade treasure Miyan Zhu. Harvest a 3rd grade peach. Various rewards appeared in front of him in the form of physical objects, or directly poured into his mind. The 4th grade treasure Miyan Zhu, the Heart Sutra of Bliss, Miyudan, etc. danced gently in front of him. I didn't expect that among the 4th grade elixirs, the one with the highest level of refining was the desire pill, which has probably reached the great perfection level. Among the spiritual plants he had planted before, there were mainly 2 types of 4th grade elixir experience packages, namely the desire pill and the dust purifying pill. The level of refining the dust purifying pill was still between proficient and mastery, but the desire pill had already broken through to the great perfection stage. After the foundation establishment pill, it is another way to make a lot of spiritual stones. Unfortunately, the desire pill is not as widely used as the foundation establishment pill. Not necessarily. After all, there are no shortage of old perverts even in the cultivation world. Lu Xuan thought of the Happy Star Cave in the 18 Star Caves. It is said that it is a first-class place for pleasure in the cultivation world, but unfortunately he has been busy farming and has no chance to enter. He collected all the rewards from the Immortal Peach Light group and planned to either sell them in a grocery store or go to the Happy Star Cave specifically and sell them to the cultivators in need at a high price. The days of farming always passed quickly, and 2 months passed in a blink of an eye. In the early morning, in the cave, there was a spiritual field of about 1 acre. Thick fog filled the air around the spiritual field, and the scenery outside the spiritual field could not be seen clearly. There were several simple stone houses next to the spiritual field. With a creak, Honking Hay walked out of the stone house and came to a seedling with a strange shape. There were many tadpole-sized shallow words swimming on the surface of the seedling. The stem was condensed by countless black lines. Looking closely, the lines were actually composed of handwriting that extended many times. Han Qinghe had long been accustomed to the strangeness of the spiritual plant in front of him. He was not surprised. He sat on a piece of open space next to the spiritual plant and took out a yellowed book. The literary energy in his danshan surged, and a clear and exciting reading sounded. The words on the seedling of the spiritual plant seemed to understand the weak power contained in the reading sound, and the speed of swimming became faster and faster, and many even drilled directly into the stems and leaves of the spiritual plant. After half an hour, Han Qinghe came back to his senses, put down the book in his hand, and carefully felt the gains from the practice just now. He looked at the mist around the spiritual field, without any thought of crossing it. Although the mist greatly restricted his range of movement, he was not dissatisfied at all. He had been in this cave for more than 2 months, and he was very satisfied with his current cultivation life. The place where he lived was not as prosperous as the previous market, but it was many times better than the market. The rich and pure spiritual energy was completely different from the previous market. At the same time, the safety level was also improved a lot. There was no need to worry about evil cultivators looting, monsters raiding, and no need to worry about the forces that had been offended before finding this place. Compared with these things, those prosperity were just flowers in the mirror and the moon in the water, which would break at the touch. Every once in a while, the giant Zenran behind the cave would come and give him some pills and talismans, saying that it was a small benefit. Lu Xuan's move made Han Qinghe very grateful, and he worked harder to provide a good cultural environment for the 9 Confucian treasure tree. After practicing and adjusting for a period of time, you can try to break through the foundation. Thinking of his bright future, Han Qinghe was full of expectations. Lu Xuan did not try to understand the thoughts of the Confucian cultivator in the 9 Confucian treasure tree spiritual field. He just came over from time to time to check on the status of the spiritual plants and perform basic farming techniques to allow the 9 Confucian treasure tree to better absorb the surrounding cultural energy. On this day, he stayed in the spiritual field and carefully picked the spiritual seeds condensed from the ice firefly grass. The 5 ice firefly grasses that were left behind condensed into 26 ice firefly grass spiritual seeds in the second condensation, which was more and more skilled. The yield was much higher than the first time. Once we improve a few more, we can start large-scale cultivation. After being promoted to the early stage of the giant stage, my cultivation has not increased for a long time. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. With his true talent, even if he practiced hard day and night, he could hardly feel the improvement in his cultivation. He was used to the surge of spiritual energy when harvesting light balls, and was very uncomfortable. I want to improve too much. Chapter 643 Black Mercury Cave. In the spiritual field, Lu Xuan looked at a ferocious vine that looked like a giant python in front of him, and carefully picked it out of the spiritual soil. The vine was the 3rd grade Jiao vine that was brought over from the Xianji insect when it moved away. A long time ago, a 5th grade body refining technique was opened from its light ball. Lu Xuan had been thinking about the remaining part of the upper part of Taixuhua Langpian. Unfortunately, it's just an ordinary 3rd grade treasure. After harvesting the light ball, Lu Xuan looked at the reward in his hand and sighed with a slightly disappointed expression. However, he could understand it. After all, Jiao vine was only a 3rd grade spiritual plant. When he planted it, he was already in the perfect foundation building realm, and when he harvested the light ball, he was even in the Dan formation realm. Downgrading cultivation and harvesting would naturally affect the quality of the treasure. It seems that, in order to obtain the subsequent exercises of Taixuhua Langpian, Jiao vine must be improved into a spiritual plant of a better grade, or obtained from a similar spiritual plant light ball. He thought to himself. He quickly accepted that he did not get the expected reward. Anyway, there is still a 5th grade Vajra body. Judging from its efficacy, it is likely to produce at least a 5th grade or even 6th grade body refining treasure. In addition to the 3rd grade Jiao vine, the spiritual plants brought over at the beginning also included the 4th grade Earth Fire Heart Lotus, 5 element fruit, etc. And there was also a method to condense the seeds of the Earth Fire Heart Lotus and 5 element fruit. Therefore, after the spiritual plants matured, He did not rush to pick them and harvest the light balls, but used them all to condense seeds. When the number of spiritual seeds such as the 5-element fruit is sufficient, you can plant them on a large scale. While mass producing, you can also try to improve them. After the spiritual plant grade reaches the 5th grade, it is extremely difficult to obtain. Xuan wants to see if he can get 1 or 2 through the method of improvement and induction. Whether it is the spiritual fruit or the light ball reward, the earth fire heart lotus and the 5-element fruit are quite good in his impression, so he specially got the method to condense the seeds of these 2 spiritual plants. According to the method, he used different means to guide the spiritual energy and essence of the plants in these 2 mature spiritual plants to condense together, and slowly wait for the spiritual seeds to condense. Is Daoist fellow Lu in the cave? While he was inspecting the spiritual field and checking the spiritual plants, a cold female voice came from outside the house. A silver-haired female cultivator appeared in Xuan's mind. The female cultivator's name was Xuan. She had come to the cave to congratulate him when she was promoted to the giant stage before. She had met him once. Daoist fellow Yi, I'm here. He flashed and came to the outside of the cave. I wonder what Daoist fellow Yi has to say. Xuan looked at the female cultivator with a warm smile on his face. I came here today to send Daoist fellow Lu an invitation. Invitation? Xuan asked in confusion. Daoist fellow Lu has been cultivating spiritual plants in the cave and may not know much about the big and small things happening in Xiangxing Cave. Some time ago, crossing Xingxi and the Blackwater Star Cave successfully broke through to the late giant stage. He wanted to invite the giant Zenran who stayed in Xiangxing Cave to attend the celebration banquet and specially asked me to come and tell Daoist fellow Lu. Xuan said, and a strange talisman appeared in his hand. The talisman was dark black and had no fixed shape. It was like a drop of water slowly flowing, and a slight gurgling sound could be heard faintly. Crossing Xingxi of Blackwater Star Cave, Xuan said in a low voice. He occasionally met and communicated with nearby cultivators. He had heard the name of Crossing Xingxi from them, but he had never met him. Okay, I will definitely attend the appointment on time. It was difficult for him to refuse a cultivator in the late Jiandan period and an invitation from the top leaders of Xiangxing Cave. In addition, it was just to attend a banquet, so there was no risk, so Xuan agreed. Moreover, there must be many Jiandan cultivators gathered at the banquet. He just took this opportunity to get to know more of them. Maybe one day he could get 1 or 2 high-level spirit seeds from a Jiandan real person. The banquet will be in 3 days. I will come to invite you, Daoist fellow Lu, to go with me. Xuan said with a smile. Thank you, Daoist fellow Yi. Xuan accepted it with pleasure. The boundless waves were surging, and the dark water was all I could see. The rolling water seemed to be able to swallow the souls of cultivators. Is this your first time to the Blackwater Star Cave, fellow Daoist Lu? Above the black water, Xuan and Xuan each drove their flying swords and flew over at high speed. Yes, I have been in the Thunderstar Cave for several years. I have been staying in the cave to cultivate spiritual plants most of the time and only occasionally go to the star picking tower. Xuan answered truthfully. 18 star caves, each of which has its own unique features. The most famous one in the Thunderstar Cave is naturally the Boundless Sea of Thunder, which is rich in various spiritual thunders and even divine thunders. Xuan's silver hair was dancing wildly in the air, and from time to time, there were subtle lightning flashes on the ends of his hair. As for the Blackwater Star Cave, it is famous in Liang realm for its various spiritual liquids. If fellow Daoist Lu is interested, you can bring some back to the cave. Many spiritual liquids are conducive to the growth of spiritual plants. Xuan nodded quickly, and he became somewhat interested in the Blackwater Star Cave. There are many islands in the Blackwater Star Cave. The key training monks live on the islands, and most of the foundation building or core forming monks live in the Blackwater. There are many secret realms left over from the ancient times in the depths of this ocean. However, most of those places are extremely dangerous. Even a core forming monk cannot guarantee that he can escape unscathed. Prohibitions, sea beasts, evil spirits and evil cultivators lurking in the black water, etc. All of them are mysterious and powerful. Xuan introduced the information of the Blackwater Star Cave to Xuan in detail. When passing by a secret realm, he would briefly say a few words, so that Lu Xuan learned a lot. When passing by a sea area, Lu Xuan paused, frowned slightly, and then returned to normal. Why, did you find anything, fellow Daoist Lu? Xuan asked curiously. No, I just practiced a strange art, and occasionally felt something in my heart. Does fellow Daoist Yi know what is strange about this sea area? Lu Xuan said calmly. I don't know much about this sea area, but it is said that a 7th grade alien dragon appeared hundreds of years ago, but no cultivator has seen it since then. There are several secret realms nearby, but they have been explored by the cultivators in the Blackwater Star Cave. Xuan said to Lu Xuan without any doubt. So that's how it is. Maybe there is something familiar in a secret realm, so I accidentally noticed it. Lu Xuan nodded and made up a story. Just now, when he passed this sea area, his spiritual sense detected a slight movement in the gluttonous insect bag hidden in his waist. After a closer look, it turned out to be the 6th grade treasure obtained from the dragon skeleton grasslight group, the crocodile dragon bead. The bead trembled slightly in the gluttonous insect bag, as if something in the sea below was attracting it. Could it be that there is a cave of the alien beast crocodile dragon in the sea below, or a related treasure? Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. He remembered the scene around the sea clearly, and followed Xuan with a normal expression, rushing towards the cave of Crossing Xingxi. Chapter 644 Malice. We are here, fellow Daoist Lu. The caves of Crossing Xi are all under this sea area for 100 miles. Xuan stopped and pointed to the dark and calm sea below. Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness extended over there, and he felt that there were many restrictions below, as if to swallow up his spiritual consciousness. He followed behind Xuan and slowly descended. Sensing the breath of the two people, a whirlpool of about 10 feet appeared on the dark water surface, and the whirlpool continued to grow. A giant turtle with a diameter of about 7 feet emerged from it. Fellow Daoist Yi, and this somewhat unfamiliar fellow Daoist, please show me the invitation. A long grey-white beard hung down on each side of the giant turtle's head, and it spoke to Lu Xuan and the others in a low voice. Lu Xuan quickly took out the flowing talisman from the storage bag, and handed it to the giant turtle. The giant turtle nodded, and a black light flashed on its shell. A light black bubble wrapped the two people in it, and slowly dived into the dark water surface. The light black bubble easily passed through the many restrictions, and led the two to a magnificent cave in the distance. Fellow Daoist Yi, where did that giant turtle come from? It can speak human language, and it must be at least a 5th grade monster. In the bubble, Lu Xuan sent a voice message to Xuan. It is said to be a legacy of Xingxi's elders. It has a long lifespan of at least thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. It usually guards Xingxi's cave. Xuan sent a voice message back. The underwater world is full of vast and bright coral reefs, and there are also water plants with spiritual fruits similar to night pearls, which makes the vision below much clearer than the shallow black water, just like daylight. The closer to the underwater cave, the more strange looking aquatic monsters Lu Xuan saw, and there were many of them with strength at the 3rd and 4th grades. At the gate of the cave, dozens of mermaids with beautiful and tender faces, or charming faces lined up in 2 rows, smiling and welcoming the many monks who came to the banquet. In front is Crossing envoy. Xuan sent a message to Lu Xuan. As soon as the voice fell, a tall middle-aged monk with black fish scales on his neck and cheeks came out to greet him. The monk's aura was as deep as the sea, as if he had merged with the entire seabed. His every move caused the surrounding waves to echo and vibrate. Fellow Daoist Yi, it's been a long time since we last met. You are still as elegant as ever. This must be fellow Daoist Lu Xuan, who has just reached the giant stage. I have heard of you for a long time. Crossing laughed loudly. Crossing envoy is too polite. Congratulations to Crossing envoy for breaking through the late giant stage and reaching the nascent soul stage. Lu Xuan greeted him with a fist. Ha, thank you very much, fellow Daoist. I heard that you have extraordinary attainments in spiritual plants. Crossing's cave has produced some good water attributed spiritual plants. If there is a chance, I would like to exchange ideas with you, fellow Daoist Lu. Crossing laughed loudly. After a few polite words, Lu Xuan and Xuan entered the cave. There were many cultivators coming and going in the hall. The two found the cave steward who was receiving the guests and presented their gifts. Lu Xuan presented a bottle of jade washing spiritual dew that he had brewed himself. It was a 4th grade spiritual brew and a very rare variety, so he could show it off. The hall was decorated extremely luxuriously. There were already hundreds of cultivators in it. Lu Xuan's spiritual sense swept through it and found that there were no less than 50 or 60 Jinden Zenran among them, including those who have hidden their cultivation. There should be more Jinden cultivators. This shows how powerful the Xiangxing cave is and how profound its heritage is. For a celebration banquet, excluding those who are practicing in seclusion and those who are traveling, they can still invite so many Jinden Zenran. Lu Xuan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Among the Jinden cultivators present, he only knew a few who came to celebrate for him at the beginning. It was just right that he took this opportunity to get to know many of them under the introduction of Yu Xuan. This is fellow Daoist Lu from Lihuo Star Cave, right? When he was alone in a corner tasting spiritual fruits and spiritual tea, 2 Jinden cultivators came to him. It's me. I wonder if you too. Lu Xuan smiled and pondered. I'm Yulin Sanran. I heard that Dao Ayalu likes to cultivate spiritual plants. It just so happens that I also have some talent in spiritual plants. If there is a chance, I will definitely exchange some ideas with Dao Ayalu. A female cultivator in emerald green clothes said softly. The rich spiritual energy of plants and trees emanated from her robe, giving people a fresh and natural feeling. On her bun, a fresh and beautiful flower grew horizontally, and there were still clear small dewdrops on the petals. It swayed gently as the female cultivator walked, full of vitality and spiritual energy. It must be an extraordinary treasure. Hello Dao Ayao, I wonder where you live? I will come to visit you, if I have the chance. Lu Xuan heard this, and immediately felt a little interested. It was quite rare to see a cultivator in the Jinden realm, who liked to cultivate spiritual plants. He should get to know him. King Muzindang, Dao Ayalu is welcome to come anytime. The flower in Yulin Sanran's bun trembled constantly, and she said with a smile. She pointed to a silent young man next to her and said softly, this is Daoist fellow Wang Suhui, who is good at cultivating various spirit beasts, and has a natural talent for communicating with various spirit beasts. We are on the same path. I have long heard of Daoist fellow Lu, so I came with me to get to know you. The young man looked a little unkempt, and there was a mixed smell coming from his body, like the smell of many monsters mixed together. There were dense patterns on his cheeks, as if thousands of beast patterns overlapped. He seemed to speak very little, and when he looked at Lu Xuan, he squeezed out a kind, but slightly stiff smile. Hello, Daoist fellow Wang. Lu Xuan bowed and saluted. The three of them gathered together, and he and Yulin Sanran exchanged experiences in cultivating spirit plants, and each benefited a lot. Soon, the banquet officially began. Crossing Kun gave a brief speech, and then all kinds of delicacies were presented. The flying, running, and swimming creatures in the sky were all monster meats that were extremely difficult to taste at ordinary times. In addition, the cooking methods were extremely sophisticated, so Lu Xuan had a large piece of meat and was very satisfied with his appetite. While tasting the delicious food, mermaids, clams, and others took turns to perform on stage. The scene was not small, the content was rich, and it could be called the ultimate audio-visual feast. Lu Xuan was enjoying the delicious food and watching the performance when he suddenly noticed a gaze falling on him. His spiritual sense was sharp, and he noticed that there was a vague malice in the gaze, as if he was looking at a ball of delicious food, greedy and extremely aggressive. His spiritual sense pretended to inadvertently scan the surroundings, but did not find anything unusual. The malicious gaze that fell on him had been removed at some point. In the corner, a monk who was sitting on the ground like a meat mountain was tasting the monster bone in his hand. Suddenly, a strange crack appeared in the palm of his hand, and a long grey-black tongue shaped like a tentacle slowly stretched out and licked the crack up and down. Is it really the taste of Tsui meat? The meat mountain monk covered the crack without leaving a trace and asked quietly in his heart. It can't be fake, and it looks like it hasn't been fully digested. If we eat it, it's almost like we tasted Tsui meat ourselves. Ah, I can't stand it. I want to eat it. I want to eat it right away. Thick black saliva flowed from the grey-black tongue, and he looked unbearable. Chapter 645 Dustlight Grass. I don't know if it was a cultivator who practiced an evil way who accidentally scanned me, or if someone had bad intentions towards me. After the hint of malice disappeared, Xuan secretly became alert. However, in the late giant stage of the Star Envoy cave, he didn't have to think so much, so he just enjoyed the banquet food with peace of mind. Deo Iaolu. While enjoying the unique water monster meat in the underwater cave, Xuan suddenly heard a gentle female voice. He looked in the direction of the voice, and saw a graceful and beautiful woman in white looking at him with a smile. Behind the woman, there were two handsome young men, all of whom were extraordinary and graceful. All three of them were in the early giant stage, and it was obvious that they had extraordinary origins. It's me. What's your name? What's the matter with you, Mr. Lu? Xuan said with a smile. My name is Crossing Yanran, and these are my two fellow disciples. So you are three Daoists from the Liang Dao sect. I'm sorry. Xuan's expression became serious. On his way here, he learned from Yi Zuanayan that Crossing Kun had a daughter who was extremely talented and had joined the Liang Dao sect, the largest sect in Liang territory. He had lived in Lihuo Star Cave for several years and had become a guest of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. He naturally understood the terrifying power of the second largest force in Liang territory, which was much stronger than the Xianjian sect. The Liang Dao sect had been the largest sect in Liang territory for thousands of years, and its profound foundation was beyond the imagination of a casual spiritual plant master like him. The reason why I came to find fellow Daoist Lu is because Yanran has planted a spiritual plant in her cave, and she loves it very much on weekdays. But recently, I don't know why, the spiritual plant has become more and more sick. I heard that fellow Daoist Lu has a deep attainment in spiritual plants, so I came to seek your help. Crossing Yanran said softly. Although the two fellow disciples behind her didn't say anything, their expressions showed a hint of impatience. Seeing Xuan was silent, one of the young men with a slightly gloomy temperament could not help but speak out. Junior sister Crossing, why do you need to find a casual cultivator here to check the spiritual plant problem? It is better to find a senior brother who is good at spiritual plants from the sect to solve the problem once and for all. There are only some casual cultivators in Xiangxing Cave. Not many can recognize your beloved spiritual plants, so how can we solve the spiritual plant problem? Senior brother Zhang, you are too polite. Crossing Yanran's smile faded. Dao Iaolu can make such a big name in Xiangxing Cave with his identity as a spiritual plant master. His spiritual plant attainments are very likely not inferior to those of the senior brothers in the sect. Besides, Dao sect is so far away from Xiangxing Cave. It would be too troublesome to ask a senior brother who is good at spiritual plants to come here. Dao Iaolu, senior brother Yanran said it unintentionally. Please don't blame me. It doesn't matter. Lu is indeed just a casual spiritual plant master. This is a well-known fact. Xuan waved his hand. Did Daoist Crossing find Yulin Sanran from Qingmyuxing Cave? She has a unique talent in spiritual plants, and may be able to solve Daoist Crossing's spiritual plant problem more easily. A few days ago, I asked Yulin Sanran to come and take a look, but unfortunately she has no clue at all. Hearing this, Xuan nodded gently. Then I will go with Daoist Crossing to see the spiritual plant. He did not take the contempt in the tone of the Liang Daoist cultivator too seriously. He would naturally not let go of the opportunity to meet Crossing Yanran, who has the dual identities of the daughter of Crossing Kun in the late giant stage and a disciple of Liang Daoist. Maybe he can get one or two high-level spiritual seeds from these big forces. Xuan followed Crossing Yanran and the other two, and came to a separate courtyard in the cave. The courtyard was covered with thick dark spiritual soil, and from time to time, light black bubbles floated out of it. The bubbles were full of spiritual energy, and it was hard to tell where the spiritual soil came from. There were many spiritual plants planted sparsely inside, and the grades were not low. Those below the third grade were extremely rare. Such a large spiritual field is planted with only these few spiritual plants. What a waste. Xuan felt very sad. The cave he lived in wanted to make full use of every small piece of spiritual field, but the woman in front of him was so wasteful, which made him, as a spiritual plant master, envious and jealous. This is the spiritual plant. It comes from a foreign land. Because of its strange and magnificent appearance, I like it very much on weekdays. Crossing Yanran pointed to a spiritual plant not far ahead and said, "The spiritual plant has a strange shape, and the branches and leaves do not have a fixed entity. It seems that it is formed by the condensation of light spots in the sky, and each of them is slowly moving according to a special law. It can be seen that the current state of the spiritual plant is not very good. The branches and leaves formed by the light spots are slightly dim, and there are signs of dissipation." Lu Xuan took a few steps forward, probed his spiritual consciousness, and checked the situation of the spiritual plant in detail. The two Liang Dao sect monks behind him folded their arms in front of their chests and stared at him closely, as if they wanted to laugh at him. The spiritual plant is called dust-light grass. Because its branches and leaves look like dust flying in the light, the name dust-light grass comes from this. Crossing Yanran stood aside and gave a brief introduction. Lu Xuan nodded gently, looking calm, and performed the earth induction technique in a small area in the spiritual soil, causing the structure of the spiritual soil under the spiritual plant to change slightly, thus completing the planting process. He focused his mind on the spiritual plant and instantly learned the detailed information of the spiritual plant in front of him. Dust-light grass, a 5th grade spiritual plant, comes from the divine light realm. It is as light as dust. During its growth, it needs to absorb a large amount of spiritual light. After maturity, it can be used to refine some special 5th grade elixirs, and can also assist in the cultivation of corresponding skills and supernatural powers. It is in a special period of exposure and needs to absorb a large amount of strong light. Because the growth conditions are not met, the spiritual plant is gradually weakening. I saw the light. A rare spiritual plant that requires a lot of light. Lu Xuan felt that his knowledge of spiritual plants had been enriched again, and he secretly sighed at the diversity of spiritual plants in the world. Dust-light grass, is it a rare spiritual plant from the foreign divine light realm? He quietly withdrew his spiritual consciousness and said it calmly, as if this was basic common sense to him. Dao Ayaolu is indeed proficient in spiritual plants, and even knows the origin of dust-light grass very well. Crossing Yanran exclaimed in surprise, with a little more expectation in her eyes. She only told Lu Xuan the species of spiritual plants, but did not tell him its detailed origin. Lu Xuan only observed it a little and directly pointed out the origin of dust-light grass. This skill alone was much better than the previous Yulin Sanran. Behind her, the eyes of the two young men from Liang Dao sect also changed, and their contempt for Lu Xuan disappeared without a trace. In the eyes of the two, Lu Xuan, who was just a casual cultivator, would never recognize the origin of dust-light grass, but they did not expect Lu Xuan to directly point it out, giving them an unexpected surprise. Even in Liang Dao sect, there are many disciples who cannot recognize dust-light grass, even fellow disciples who are proficient in spiritual plants. I wonder if Brother Daoist Lu has any good plan to cure this dust-light grass? Crossing Yanran couldn't help but ask. Chapter 646, Avoid Risk. I have a clue, but whether it is effective or not, you have to try it yourself. Lu Xuan said with a smile. Please tell me clearly. Dust-light grass, as the name suggests, needs to absorb a lot of spiritual light during its growth. Looking at the arrangement around the spiritual plant, you should know this characteristic. However, the amount of spiritual light required varies at different growth stages of the spiritual plant. Now the spiritual plant is in a special period of exposure, and the spiritual light required is several times more than before. And the light in the depths of the black water is naturally insufficient, and the light source you set up is not strong enough, so the spiritual plant's nutrition is not satisfied, and it gradually shows signs of weakening. Just add a lot of spiritual light to fully illuminate the dust-light grass, and this problem can be solved. Lu Xuan was calm and talked freely, with absolute confidence in his tone, which made people believe. I see. Crossing Yanran nodded when she heard this, and the spiritual power in her body surged. Several golden pearls flew out of the storage bag, shining brightly, illuminating the entire courtyard like daylight. Stimulated by the strong light, the light spots in the branches and leaves of the dust-light grass moved a little faster. After a while, the whole spiritual plant was brighter than before, and the vitality was obviously revived in the spiritual consciousness. I didn't expect to solve this problem so easily. Crossing Yanran looked at the obviously improved dust-light grass and sighed. However, she also knew that easy was only relative. If Lu Xuan hadn't pointed out the problem directly, she didn't know when she would find a solution. Dao Liaolu's attainments in spiritual plants are more powerful than the rumors. She looked at Lu Xuan with praise in her eyes. The two Liang Dao sect monks beside her nodded in agreement. Thank you for helping to solve a big problem this time. I will reward you after the banquet is over. I don't deserve it. Lu Xuan said a few polite words and returned to the banquet hall with the three people. Half a day later, the banquet gradually came to an end, and the cave steward presented a beautiful jade box to each Jindan monk's table. After his figure left, several Jindan Zenran around Lu Xuan scanned the jade box with their spiritual consciousness. The 4th grade spirit fish should be the specialty of the Blackwater Star Cave. Envoy Crossing is very polite. This is also the 4th grade monster meat. Someone next to him said. Huh. Lu Xuan scanned it with his spiritual consciousness, and he was confused. Although he didn't see what was in the jade box, his spiritual consciousness sensed that it was definitely not the 4th grade monster meat. There was a strange spirit seed inside, and judging from its aura, it should be the 5th grade. Fellow Daoist Lu, is there also the 4th grade monster meat in your jade box? A Jindan Zenran who was several feet away from him asked curiously. That's right. Lu Xuan answered casually, and put the jade box into the storage bag without leaving a trace. The other Jindan cultivators all gave the 4th grade monster meat or other treasures of the same level as a return gift, but there was a 5th grade spirit seed in my jade box, which should have a lot to do with my help in solving the matter of the dust-light grass spirit plant. He thought secretly in his heart. Crossing's daughter is indeed from a great sect, so generous. I just helped to look at it and gave a few pointers, and she gave me a 5th grade spirit seed. The value of 4th grade and 5th grade treasures is very different. She gave me such a big gift, which is thoughtful. Lu Xuan was very satisfied with this reward. He only wanted to return to the cave, to take out the spirit seed, and see where it came from. Judging from its aura, it should be some kind of 5th grade water spirit plant. The specific species can only be known when we return to the cave. In public, Lu Xuan couldn't take it out and examine it carefully. He had to suppress his curiosity temporarily and wait for the banquet to end. At this moment, the kinky feather clothes he was wearing suddenly appeared with spiritual light, and his skin felt a faint tingling. Is there a cultivator using the key to spy on me? Lu Xuan's heart was alarmed. The kinky feather clothes could isolate the aura and blind the deduction method. If it could have such a reaction, it must be a cultivator spying on him in secret. Could it be related to the malicious intent at the beginning of the banquet? The first thing that came to his mind was the vague malicious intent that appeared on him at the beginning of the banquet. It seems that some cultivators want to harm me. He pondered in his heart. Fight head on or find a chance to avoid it? If I fight head on, although I have a lot of 5th grade treasures on me, I have just been promoted to Jindan not long ago. Apart from those treasures, other aspects are just average among the cultivators of the same level. If the opponent is only in the early stage of Jindan, it's okay. With the treasures in my hands and the strength that is not weaker than that of the cultivators of the same level, I can deal with it alone. But if there are more than one person on the other side, or the strength is in the middle stage of Jindan or even higher, then it will be troublesome. His mind was working rapidly, and he soon made a choice. Temporarily avoid it. Wait until more high-level spiritual plants mature, more treasures and magical powers protect the body, and then deal with that person. Now his purpose has been exposed. I'm in the dark. As long as I have enough strength, I can get through it safely. Lu Xuan thought to himself. Dao Lu, what are your plans after the banquet? Do you want to walk around in the Blackwater Cave and buy some special spiritual liquids, or go back to the Thunderfire Cave with the other Daoists? While he was thinking secretly, Xuan beside him asked. I'm not very interested in those spiritual liquids. It's not easy to get to know so many Daoists with strong strength. Let's go back to the Thunderfire Cave first with a few Daoists and ask you about cultivation problems on the way. Wait for the next opportunity to come and take a good walk in the Blackwater Cave. Lu Xuan originally planned to walk around under the Blackwater after the banquet to see the different customs and people in the Blackwater Cave. But after learning that there were cultivators with bad intentions towards him, he immediately changed his mind. After leaving the Star Envoy Cave, if he acted alone, it would be easy to attract attacks from the cultivators behind the scenes. But if he traveled with a few giant and cultivators, the cultivators hiding in the dark would have to weigh their own strength. If you have someone to hold you tight, you must hold on tightly. This is emergency avoidance. As for the special spiritual liquid in the Blackwater Star Cave, there will be many opportunities in the future. If you really want to get it, you can at least get it from the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. Lu Xuan knew what was more important and what was less important. His life was more important, so it was most important to get through this wave of risks. He followed closely behind the 5 giant and cultivators in the Thunder Mars Cave, asking questions from time to time and pretending to be listening attentively. After coming out of the depths of the Blackwater, several people flew to the Thunder Mars Cave together. After a while, it seemed that there was no opportunity to take advantage of. The spiritual energy fluctuations of the King Fui feather clothes gradually subsided, and the tingling sensation on the skin also disappeared. It seems that I should give up. However, I will remember this account for the time being, and I will settle it with you in the future. Lu Xuan's expression did not change, and he felt much more relaxed. Chapter 647, Jingping Liu. A moment later, Lu Xuan and several giant and cultivators quickly left the exit of the Blackwater Star Cave. A few miles away, a black shadow slowly emerged from the Blackwater. When they all came out, they found a meat mountain. In the center of the meat mountain was a kind head, looking at the exit of the Blackwater Star Cave with endless regret in his eyes. Let's go. We can't eat TSUI meat anymore. Next to it, a long grey-black tongue suddenly emerged from the meat mountain, muttering non-stop. There's nothing we can do. I didn't expect that the casual spiritual plant master would be mixed with so many giant and cultivators. If we act rashly, we will easily become the target of public criticism, the head said with a smile. However, I have heard some news about him from other cultivators. I know that he lives in the Thunder Mars Cave. When we find a chance, we can search inside. He is just a spiritual plant master. He must have had some good luck to break through the giant stage. I will let you eat your fill when the time comes. A fat arm inserted into the meat mountain, took out a piece of red and black flesh and blood, and fed it to the grey-black long tongue. With a slurp, the long tongue easily wrapped the flesh and blood and absorbed it clean in an instant. This long tongue is a powerful evil spirit that he has raised in his body. It feeds on flesh and blood. The rumored TSUI meat is even more of a tonic for it. If it devours the flesh and blood of the casual spiritual plant master, its strength will definitely increase a lot, and it may even be possible to reach the nascent soul stage. Thinking of this, the head and the grey-black long tongue swallowed hard together, and the meat mountain dived back into the black water and disappeared. Thunder Mars Cave. Fellow Daoist Xuan, fellow Daoist Xuan, Lu's cave is a few dozen miles ahead. Would you like to come and sit down and taste the spiritual fruit and tea that Lu cultivated and brewed by himself? Along the way, giant and cultivators kept leaving from the small group. In the end, only Lu Xuan and the other 2 were left. Although it was less than 100 miles away from the cave, Lu Xuan decided to invite the 2 newly met giant and cultivators to return to the cave together for safety reasons. Okay, then let's go to visit fellow Daoist Lu's cave. The 2 had a good chat with Lu Xuan on the way. Knowing that he cultivated many spiritual fruits with different flavors and effects, they became interested and readily agreed to come to Lu Xuan's cave together. After half a day, the 2 left with satisfaction. Lu Xuan sent them outside the cave. After the 2 figures completely disappeared in the subtle lightning in the sky, he immediately returned to the cave. In the center of the cave, spiritual light flowed on the 2 array plates, and various colored array flags fluttered and then sank into the spiritual soil. With the 2 5th grade formations, the illusion 5 element formation and the cloud bamboo arrow formation, even if a cultivator in the middle stage of the giant stage invades the cave, it is unlikely that he will break out of the formation. The two formations. The illusion 5 element formation is a superior illusion formation that can kill enemies with the 5 element of illusion beasts, while the cloud bamboo arrow formation is a powerful killing formation. The combination of the two greatly enhances the protection of the cave, giving Lu Xuan a full sense of security. As soon as he thought about it, a thin crack suddenly appeared in the void, and a grey-white indifferent pupil emerged from the crack, instantly appearing dozens of feet away, swimming rapidly in the sky. The void nightmare eye can also see through illusions and monitor the surroundings of the cave. Once there is any abnormality, I can also detect it in the first time. Lu Xuan looked at the grey-white pupil that kept swimming in the void, thinking secretly in his heart. First, we have to find out the cultivator behind the malicious intention. It's okay if he doesn't chase him to the vicinity of the cave. If he comes, we have to find a way to deal with him. Lu Xuan did not have absolute confidence in his current strength. The first thing he thought of was to hug his thighs, and at the same time he had several choices in his mind. Qi Wuheng, the star envoy of Li Hulaxing Cave, is a person he has a certain friendship with. At the same time, he is also a tenant of Xiangxing Cave. He pays so many spirit stones as rent every year. Xiangxing Cave has the obligation to ensure the safety of tenants. Hail out Chamber of Commerce. He has become a guest of the Chamber of Commerce and can also be protected by the Chamber of Commerce to a certain extent, but he does not know whether the power of the Chamber of Commerce can spread to Li Hulaxing Cave. Finally, there is the alien green-horned thunder rhinoceros in the Sea of Thunder. It is a 7th grade monster with the strength of a Yuan cultivator. It once solved a small trouble. If Lei Rhinoceros is willing, it is estimated that it will be easy to deal with the malicious cultivator. 3 options are available. Which force should be given priority? Of course, the most important thing is to be strong enough. Lu Xuan looked solemn. Looking at the spiritual plants all over the mountains in the cave, he felt more confident. With the light ball here, everything is possible. Maybe if we can produce a high quality light ball, we can easily deal with the monk behind the scenes. In the cave, there are several 5th grade spiritual plants that are about to mature, and even the 6th grade phoenix tree is not far from maturity. By then, there will be several generous light balls as rewards, which will greatly enhance the strength. Thinking of this, Lu Xuan felt much more at ease. He came to the spiritual field, found an empty area, and took out the jade box that Blackwater Star Cave Star Envoy Crossing Kun gave as a return gift. Breaking a simple ban on the jade box, a strange shaped spiritual seed appeared in front of Lu Xuan. The spiritual seed is turquoise, and its appearance is like a feather covered with dew. It is as light as nothing, exuding a vitality. The light green spiritual energy flows slightly on the surface of the spiritual seed, making the spiritual seed give people a sense of freshness and nature, making people feel comfortable physically and mentally. Looking at its vitality, it is indeed a 5th grade spiritual seed. It's worth my helping Crossing Kun's daughter point out the small problem with her spiritual plant. Lu Xuan smiled. He was in a good mood to be able to get a 5th grade spiritual seed so easily. He performed the earth drawing technique at the master level. In an instant, the spiritual soil in front of him underwent a subtle structural change. A crack appeared just right, and the feather-like spiritual seed was included in it. With a thought, clouds surged in the low sky of the spiritual field, lightning appeared, and strands of spiritual rain fell down, seeping into the slightly loose spiritual soil, fully nourishing the turquoise spiritual seed. After planting the spiritual seed, Lu Xuan's mind focused on the surface of the spiritual seed. In an instant, detailed information about the spiritual seed appeared in his sea of consciousness. Pure bottle willow, a 5th grade spiritual plant, is said to be produced in a foreign Buddhist resort and rifted to the Blackwater Star Cave. When mature, the spiritual plant has a powerful effect of nourishing the soul, body and other things. It has a very strong healing ability and can bring the dead back to life and turn bones into flesh. It can be used to refine corresponding elixirs or treasures. During the growth process, it needs to be nourished and irrigated with spiritual springs and spiritual fluids of similar properties. Remember not to use evil spiritual fluids, lest the spiritual plant be polluted and its spirituality be greatly reduced. 5th grade spiritual plants have extremely strong healing effects, which is rare. Lu Xuan remembered that among the countless spiritual plants he planted, only 1 or 2 low-level spiritual plants with healing effects were cultivated in the key training stage. There were no 3rd grade and 4th grade spiritual plants, let alone 5th grade spiritual plants. Although the coldness of the Yaoquan Linglin is extremely strong, it is more than enough to cultivate the pure bottle willow in the early stage. He thought secretly in his heart, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 648 Yuan Yang True Fire Pearl. A month passed in a blink of an eye. During this time, Lu Xuan had been hiding in the cave, using the Void Nightmare Eyes, to learn about the situation outside the cave. There were 2 5th grade formations guarding it, so he was just a little alert in his heart, but not too worried. His mind was all on the many spiritual plants in the spiritual field. There were no high-level spiritual plants that matured in the cave recently. There were only some experimental low-level spiritual plants that were brought out from the Xianjian sect before. The light balls they produced were not satisfactory. Lu Xuan decided to sell them all in a grocery store. He focused on improving several spiritual plants. Among them, the main one was the 2nd grade water firefly grass spiritual seed. At present, there was a large gap in the number of ice firefly grass spiritual seeds, and the condensation seed could only increase the number of spiritual seeds slowly. Lu Xuan's patience was limited, so he simply induced and improved all the water firefly grass spiritual seeds he had obtained before, trying to get enough ice firefly grass spiritual seeds as soon as possible. In this way, the improvement of spiritual plants is a long and inefficient thing. Ordinary spiritual plant masters need to go through many levels to get a new spiritual plant in this way, inducing spirit seeds again and again, and then needing to observe and experiment continuously during the cultivation stage, and finally studying the effects of the mutant spirit plants after they mature. But for Lu Xuan, the difficulty was reduced by an unknown amount. In the process of inducing spirit seeds, he only needs to plant the spirit seeds after the experiment to obtain the spirit seed information, so as to screen out the mutant spirit seeds, and after multiple inductions, obtain new spirit plant varieties. At this stage, the success rate of the spirit seeds he screened out was unknown times higher than that of ordinary spirit plant masters, and the efficiency was greatly improved. During the growth stage of the mutant spirit plants, he can also get the specific cultivation method at the first time, and no longer need to spend a lot of time to explore and study. When the spirit plants mature, they will immediately know the effects after maturity, saving a lot of time and energy. For him, the most time consuming is precisely the induction stage that other spirit plant masters spend the least time on, and the rest is to wait quietly for the mutant spirit plants to mature. It is no exaggeration to say that Lu Xuan alone is equivalent to the power of a sect in this ability to improve spirit plant varieties. Among the several spirit plants he improved, in addition to the water firefly grass, the 4th grade earth fireheart lotus and the 5-element fruit are also included in the key improvement category. When he was in the Xianjian sect, he had obtained a lot of 4th grade spiritual plants from the Sinan Hall. After they were cultivated to maturity, the earth fireheart lotus and the 5-element fruit, both the spiritual plants themselves and the light ball rewards, made him very satisfied. Therefore, he specially learned the method of condensing the seeds of these 2 4th grade spiritual plants. The earth fireheart lotus can purify the dirty breath in the body, reduce the risk of alienation of the cultivator, and resist the invasion of evil spirits. In the environment of invasion by foreign demons, it is particularly important. As for the 5-element fruit, the 5 element of spiritual power are mutually reinforcing and restraining. He also obtained the extremely important 5th grade illusionary 5-element formation from the light ball, and its importance is also self-evident. He followed the method of condensing seeds in his mind, carefully guiding the vitality and spiritual power in the spiritual plants to gather and combine, and slowly condense the spiritual seeds. Condensing the 4th grade spiritual seeds consumes much more mental energy than the water firefly grass. After nearly an hour, Lu Xuan got up, shook his head, and felt a little tired. The 4th grade seed condensation method is much more complicated than the low grade seed condensation method. I dare not slack off during the condensation process. Fortunately, it went smoothly and entered the next stage. After condensing the seeds, he patrolled the spiritual field and observed the detailed status of each spiritual plant. During this period, he encountered a grass puppet wrapped with 2 arrow vines and fed it a spiritual grass bead to replenish the plant's spiritual energy for it and the 2 arrow vines. Hey, a 4th grade spiritual plant has matured. Xuan came to a relatively remote spiritual field and looked at a spiritual plant with a red gourd, feeling happy. On the red gourd, there were balls of flames flowing, like the sunset glow at sunset, gorgeous and colorful. When the spiritual consciousness spread to it, a slight burning sensation could be detected. He looked at the mature red flame gourd in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. The red flame gourd was given by Xuan Cave. At that time, he went to Xuan Cave with Huo Liner to solve major spiritual plant problem for Huo Liner's people, and thus obtained a red flame gourd spiritual seed. I wonder how senior brother Huo Liner and the others are doing now? Are they safely traveling through the void and arriving at Dark Xuan Sword Sect? As long as they successfully pass through the space storm, there will be no problem for them. I don't know when I will have the opportunity to meet senior brothers Huo Liner, Jepu and others. Many figures of former sect members emerged in Xuan's mind. He gathered his mind and picked the red gourd from the vine. His mind was focused on the flowing fire cloud on the surface, and a thought flashed through his mind. Red flame gourd, a 4th grade spiritual plant, is cultivated by absorbing fire spiritual power. The gourd contains a wisp of 4th grade strange fire red spiritual flame, which can be used to assist in practicing fire-based skills and magical powers, or it can be used directly against the enemy. The 4th grade red spirit flame is a bit useless for me at the moment. Xuan looked at the red gourd in his hand and put it into the gluttonous insect sack and would find a suitable opportunity to deal with it in the future. It's time to harvest the light ball again. Xuan looked at the white light ball that quietly emerged and flickered in front of him, rubbed his hands, and looked forward to it. The red flame gourd was still planted by him when he was in the late stage of foundation building, and the light ball reward should not be affected much. He stretched out his palm and gently touched the surface of the light ball. The light ball shattered silently and turned into light spots all over the sky. It instantly condensed into a pale red light bead phantom and sank into Xuan's body. Then, a thought appeared in his sea of consciousness. Harvest a 4th grade red flame gourd and obtain the 5th grade treasure Yuan True Fire bead. The thought disappeared and a red jade bead appeared in Xuan's palm. The jade bead was the size of a pigeon egg, and there was a wisp of fine golden red flame flowing inside. Even with the jade bead blocking it, Xuan's spiritual consciousness could still sense the domineering power of the flame. Focusing his mind on it, detailed information about the red jade bead suddenly appeared in his mind. Yuan True Fire bead, a 5th grade treasure, sealed with a wisp of 5th grade strange fire. Yuan True Fire. The true fire is domineering and incomparable, burning everything in the world. It can be used to refine special high-level magic tools and elixirs, and can also assist in practicing fire-related skills and supernatural powers. Yuan True Fire bead, a 5th grade treasure. Xuan said softly, looking at the red jade bead in his hand, feeling satisfied. With the 5th grade Pure Yang True Fire talisman, this Yuan True Fire bead is of little use to me. He had opened a 5th grade Pure Yang True Fire talisman from the Earth Fire Heart Lotus Light group, which could visualize and control the Golden Crow remnant soul inside, to fight against the enemy. After taking the pure glazed tea leaves, he had already comprehended it, so the jade bead, that only sealed a wisp of Yuan True Fire was far inferior to it. However, it can be released to nourish the 6th grade Delenix Regia. As a 6th grade fire attributed spiritual plant, the Delenix Regia's demand for strange fire may increase a lot when it matures. The red lotus flame will definitely not be enough. At that time, this Yuan True Fire bead can be used to help it mature. Xuan thought secretly in his heart. Chapter 649. The tried and tested method of reporting. After harvesting the 5th grade treasure Yuan True Fire pearl from the red flame gourd, Xuan was in a good mood and walked easily in the furrows of the spiritual field. In the spiritual field, a golden bodhi seed has grown on the top of the 5th grade Vajra bodhi spiritual plant. The bodhi seed is the size of a thumb tip, with faint golden lines on the surface. A closer look reveals that it is 70% similar to the Buddha. Around the spiritual plant, a half-foot tall Vajra phantom with eyes wide open, holding up a Zen Buddhist instrument, seems to be going to wipe out all the demons in the world. Xuan focused his mind on the spiritual plant, and found that the progress bar below was about to be filled. It's almost there, and we will be able to harvest several high-level spiritual plants soon. He then came to the 5th grade heart monkey fruit. As soon as he approached the spiritual fruit shaped like a golden monkey seemed to come alive instantly, causing his mind to have a lot of thoughts, as if he was attracted by the strange spiritual fruit in front of him, and there was a faint sign of losing control. Fortunately, his spiritual consciousness was nourished and improved by the Yanshan Tai and the Yanshan Jing, and his soul had been trained countless times in the red dust monument. As soon as his mind moved, he immediately suppressed it, and his heart was as calm as water. Xuan carefully nourished and cultivated them one by one, and then returned to the house with 3 parts of fatigue and 7 parts of satisfaction. After returning to the house, he recuperated for a while and soon recovered his spirit. Then he practiced the Xuanshan King Wei Mao Fa and other skills, controlling the Dan fire, to sacrifice the 2 magic weapons, the Peacock Ming Wang sword and the Teo Chang sack. Half a month passed in a blink of an eye. Xuan stood on the top of the cave, looking solemnly at the grey-white pupils that emerged from the cracks in his palms. In the pupils, he saw an obese monk wandering more than 10 miles away from the cave, looking at the cave with a strange look, and then his figure disappeared. In the sky, the void nightmare kept wandering, silently and imperceptibly. It has the ability to see through illusions. Under Xuan's control, although the fat monk has disappeared, his figure is clearly visible, almost naked in front of Xuan. It should be this person. The monk didn't know that Xuan had discovered his trace. At such a long distance, he didn't hide deliberately. He just used secret techniques to spy on Xuan's cave when he was close to his cave. After he returned to the cave from the Blackwater Star Cave, he was very cautious to let the Void Nightmare Eye monitor the area around the cave. Unexpectedly, there was an unexpected discovery. In the past few days, he saw this fat monk wandering around the cave more than once, and sometimes he used magic tools and secret techniques to sneak into the vicinity of the cave. It was not the work of an ordinary giant and monk passing by the cave. It was obvious that his motives were not pure. Fortunately, there are the 2 5th grade formations in the surveillance of the Void Nightmare Eye, otherwise I really don't know when he would sneak into the cave and attack. Xuan sighed in his heart. However, through the observation of the Void Nightmare Eye, this person is likely to have the strength of a top-level early giant and cultivator, and there is even a slight possibility that he is in the middle giant and stage. At present, I'm in the dark, so I can take the initiative. In addition, I have many magic weapons on me, so my wealth should not be weaker than many middle giant and cultivators. The only disadvantage is that I don't have much experience in fighting, so I can only use magic weapons to hit people and win by quantity. It would be better if I had more 5th grade talismans. Xuan kept weighing and comparing. Observe for a few days first to see what his motives are. Without absolute certainty, Xuan was unwilling to take the initiative to attack, and would rather hide in the cave and quietly harvest the light balls. He came to the area of the evil spiritual plant and spiritual field. As soon as he entered, the flesh spirit god jumped in front of him. The light red pupils on the top of the big meatball kept looking in the direction of the fat cultivator, and the seaweed-like fur on the surface flew up, revealing a grinning mouth inside. The round body kept shrinking and expanding, causing Xuan's blood to surge. Why is the flesh spirit god so excited? Is it related to that cultivator? Xuan wondered, his mind focused on this juvenile disaster level evil spirit. Delicious. Delicious. I want to eat it. He sensed such a strong thought from the flesh spirit god. That cultivator has a lot of meat on his body, which meets the flesh spirit god's aesthetic taste. Xuan stroked his chin and thought secretly, bear with it for a while, and I'll bring this takeaway in for you later. Xuan was powerless at the moment, so he had to appease the flesh spirit god. a large piece of monster meat appeared on the top of the big meatball's head and instantly turned into a puff of blood mist, condensed into a thin river of blood and flesh, and flew into the big meatball's body. Under the perception of the mind, the flesh spirit god's strong desire faded a little, and the blood on the surface was restrained a lot. In a blink of an eye, a month passed, and Xuan cultivated the many spiritual plants in the spiritual field one by one, looking at the grey-white pupils that emerged from the cracks in the palm of his hand. What on earth is there in me that is so attractive to that cultivator? He has been wandering around my cave from time to time for so long. It's a pity that he ran into a spiritual plant master like me who doesn't like to go out and stays in the cave to farm. Xuan was puzzled and secretly amused, and his alertness increased again. Looking at this situation, either that person gets what he needs from me, or I completely get rid of him. There is no other ending. He remembered the appearance and breath of the fat cultivator deeply. However, it's not a solution to keep wasting time now. I can't stay in the cave forever. I must think of a way to drive that person away first. Since he was not sure about it at the moment, Xuan decided not to show his true colors for the time being. When he had 99% confidence, he would go to find this super large takeaway of the flesh spirit god. If you are not strong enough, report it. He used the reporting method very skillfully. He immediately took out the unique communication talisman of Qi Wuheng of Thundermar's cave and input a few messages into the talisman. Fellow Daoist Qi, how are you these days? How is the growth of your spirit beast Thunder Wingbird recently? I accidentally discovered a sneaky evil cultivator near the Thundermar's cave recently. I wonder if he is related to the evil cultivators who robbed everywhere before. Fellow Daoist Qi, please ask the patrol guards of the Thundermar's cave to pay more attention. After saying that, Xuan observed the direction he was in through the void nightmare eyes, and deliberately chose the opposite direction. The talisman shot like an arrow from a bow towards the cave, where Qi Wuheng was. It is the unshakable responsibility of tenants like us to eliminate the safety hazards of the Thundermar's cave, and ensure the personal safety of every cultivator inside. Professional matters should be left to professional cultivators. Wait until I collect a few more rich light balls, and then I will settle this account with you. He looked at the direction of the fat cultivator and said secretly, he once helped Qi Wuheng, the star envoy of the Thundermar's cave, solve the problem of his beloved spirit beast. He is also a long-term high-value tenant of the Thundermar's cave. In addition, it is also involved in the previous evil cultivator robbed. Under various factors, the efficiency of Xiangxing cave is particularly high. In less than an hour, Xuan observed through his void nightmare eyes that a giant cultivator from Xiangxing cave led a group of guards passing by the cave. Chapter 650, Vajra Bodhi matures. Why are those annoying guys from Xiangxing cave coming again? The figure of the Meat Mountain monk slowly appeared in the sky full of fine lightning. He looked at the distance with an extremely impatient expression and fled away. In his impression, the frequency of encountering the patrol guards of Xiangxing cave has increased during this period. From time to time, he found that a giant monk led a group of fully armed guards passing by nearby. He himself was also a casual cultivator renting in Xiangxing cave, but he was not from Lihuaxing cave. According to the rules of Xiangxing cave, he could only stay in Lihuaxing cave for a short time. If he stayed for a long time, he would have to give an explanation to the high-level officials of Xiangxing cave. If he encountered it for the first 2 times, he could still find a reason to perfunctorily get by, but if he was discovered many times, the reason would not be sufficient. I really want to eat them all in one bite. The Meat Mountain monk appeared in a valley, the black flesh on his body surging, revealing an extremely strong desire. But he just thought about it in his heart. Although he had enough strength to get rid of the patrolling guards, if he leaked a little information, it would definitely cause endless pursuit by Xiangxing cave. Not to mention the nascent soul, any late giant and cultivator could easily get rid of him. If we continue to investigate like this, Xiangxing cave will find us sooner or later. That guy is so lucky. He has been hiding in that tortoise shell for so long, and has no communication with the outside world. I can only wrong you for now, and wait for him to come out of the cave. He dug out a piece of blood and flesh filled with black smoke from his chest, and fed it to the grey-black long tongue with strong resentment. he decided to give up temporarily and look for opportunities in the future. Finally, it's quiet. Lu Xuan looked at the grey-white pupil in his hand and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Although there was a formation for protection, it was not comfortable to have such a cultivator with ill intentions staring at him. Under the pressure exerted by Xiangxing Cave, the fat cultivator finally took the initiative to retreat. The Void Nightmare Eyes had not found his trace for many days. It's time to go to the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. The last talisman sent by the message asked me to identify the spiritual medicine picked from the foreign land. It has been delayed for several days. If I delay any longer, it may have a bad impact. Lu Xuan thought secretly. For the sake of caution, he did not leave the cave directly. At the edge of the cave, he took out a yellow earth spirit bead from the storage bag, cast the secret book of Earth Yuan, and merged it into the rock with a subtle lightning. With the addition of the 2 Earth Escape secret treasures, he was like a fish in the water, flexibly and freely shuttling between various rocks and soils. After dozens of breaths, he came to more than 20 miles away from the cave. When he appeared on the ground, his appearance had changed under the change of Qian Qi and Wen's strange face, and he had turned into an ordinary young monk. In addition, he was wearing a kingfei feathered robe that could conceal his breath and obscure the secrets of heaven. Lu Xuan flew to the Zixing Tower calmly. Arriving at the branch building of Heilao Chamber of Commerce, Lu Xuan confirmed that he was not being followed, restored his original appearance, and entered the branch building. The defense capability of the branch building was stronger than that of his cave, and with the brand of Heilao Chamber of Commerce, Lu Xuan was very relieved to handle some spiritual plant chores. After completing some trivial matters, he came to a grocery store. Senior Lu. There were not many cultivators in the grocery store at the moment, and Lu Xuan understood the reason after entering. The treasures he left last time had been sold out, and only some low-cost magic tools remained on the shelves. Thank you for your hard work. It's not hard work. It's a great honor for me to serve you. Wen Qian immediately shook his head and said. His monthly salary in the grocery store was more than half higher than that in Heilao Chamber of Commerce, and Lu Xuan would occasionally reward him with 1 or 2 treasures. Those treasures were extremely useless to him at the moment, but they were particularly precious to him who was still in the stage of key training perfection. He was very grateful to Lu Xuan for giving him such an opportunity. He worked hard and devoted himself to the business of the grocery store. This is a new batch of treasures. In addition to the more popular foundation building pills and sword raising goods, there are also some 4th grade magic tools and treasures. You can deal with them as you see fit. Also, give me the spiritual stones you earned during this period. Yes. Senior Lu. Wen Qian glanced at the various treasures that Lu Xuan placed on the table, which were shining with spiritual light. He suppressed his excitement and took out a pile of medium-grade spiritual stones from his storage bag. Senior Lu, these are the accounts and spiritual stones. Please take a look. Lu Xuan swept his spiritual consciousness and rolled the pile of medium-grade spiritual stones into the storage bag. Those light balls harvested from low-level spiritual plants are of average value, but when accumulated, they are also very considerable. This speed of earning spiritual stones is a bit terrifying, and this is on the premise that I didn't use those 5th grade treasures. He sighed in his heart, realizing the value of the light balls more and more. Returning from the star-picking tower to the Thunderfire Star Cave, he still changed his breath and appearance, performed the secret book of Earth Yuan, and with the help of the Earth Bead, he returned to the cave silently. After going out for a while, completing his duties as a guest official, collecting a large number of medium-grade spirit stones, and buying some necessities for cultivation, he could stay in the cave to farm with peace of mind again. Time passed, and 2 months passed unknowingly. Lu Xuan sat cross-legged on the futon, his mind sinking into his danshan. The golden elixir was beating slightly, and a light blue elixir fire was burning quietly inside. In the center of the golden elixir, there was a miniature and exquisite golden peacock, with feathers as thin as hair like thin swords, flying freely in the golden elixir, enjoying the sacrifice of the elixir fire. Around the peacock, there was also a grey-white sac, attached to the inner wall of the golden elixir, squirming slightly, as if it had vitality. After refining the Peacock King Sword and the Gluttonous Insect Sack for so long, I finally have some low-level magic weapon prototypes. Lu Xuan was delighted. With a thought, a huge golden sword shot out from his body, drawing obscure and complex trajectories around it. After the peacocking sword was refined by the Dan fire, it could be used at will, and the spiritual power consumed was much less, making it easier to control. The flying sword was full of spirituality, like a continuation of Lu Xuan's limbs, and its power was more than doubled. After the gluttonous insect sac was refined, it was also more magical, and the space expanded a lot. It seemed to be connected to the void, and there were faint signs of the birth of space magic. Lu Xuan opened his mouth and sucked, and the peacocking sword immediately entered his mouth, transformed into a delicate golden peacock, and returned to the golden elixir. After fully refining the two 5th grade magic tools, Lu Xuan saw that it was still early, so he came to the spiritual field again, and inspected the many spiritual plants. Suddenly, a Buddhist chant was heard from the distant spiritual field. The sound contained a bright and firm power, as if it could wash away the turbidity of the world, and it did not dissipate for a long time. Seeing this strange phenomenon, Lu Xuan was delighted, and his figure came to a spiritual field where the Buddhist magic weapon, the demon subduing peg, was placed. On the Vajra Bodhi spiritual plant, the Bodhi seed on the top shone brightly, illuminating the surrounding area. The Vajra phantom was so dense that it seemed real and lifelike. The Vajra Bodhi is finally mature. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.